Welcome everyone. This is Evelyn, and I have 3 of my messages of the day. They're channeled reads as well as a mini read for the twin flames at the end. There's only 2 decks out here, but I'm probably going to pull a numerology card as well. It's been all about the bridging of the 2 as 1 coming in. There's definitely been some harsh energies. My voice was just closing up a little bit there. So again, expressing that 2 as 1 or just allowing it to be may be a struggle for you at this time. And a lot of symbolism was coming up for me in these reads. So I want you to bear in mind the pi symbol of the circle with the line down the middle being half and half, like half of the moon. And then the phi symbol of the oval with the line outside the circle. And then the parentheses, which ultimately become a circle. So just keep those things in mind. The picture of the circle collapsing in on itself, becoming the heart, and also the leaf is being represented as that. So if you took a leaf and you took the pointy part of the leaf and bent it over, the symbol of that keeps coming up. And I'll be showing you some of the drawings I've done. It brings in my pin and the 698 pod that I've talked about. And again, it's always about how everything comes together as one. So let's see here. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths if you'd like to. I want to get right into this today. I am going to pull a numerology card for you. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. Send your love wherever you want it to go, whether it's to yourself, to something in your body that's bothering you. If there's stress in your solar plexus, or if there's a pain somewhere. The lungs were coming up this week as well in a major way, and that will come up in my messages. And the sets of things, like the lungs and the kidneys reflecting each other, that'll come up as well. Do you want to send your love out to your home, to someone that you love, to your neighborhood, to the world, whatever you'd like to do, a specific location, go ahead and do that as you breathe. Taking your time, just allow yourself to be with yourself. And we have intuition coming up here. And when these cards are reversed, it's supposed to mean even more so. It's not like usual where it's not intuition or you're lacking intuition. It's all about the intuition. And the 22 is the Fool's Journey, which isn't so much of a journey, but opening your heart to take the leap, to be your higher self, so to speak. So there's that intuition card coming up for you for this read. And at the bottom of the deck here is compassion, which is 99. And 99 is that infinite energy, right? It's that 0 point energy just before the 0, before the 10 again. So it's under compassion. We have change under compassion as well. So with the change, compassion is always needed because humans don't like to change. It's not easy to change. So we need to have compassion for ourselves and others. We very much have aqua and purple over here, and then the orange is coming up here of the sacral chakra, the third eye, and the high heart, the aqua mother energy. Excuse me. It was really the sun's not so much out right now, but it was really cold this morning. I'd just taken Teddy out for a walk a little while ago, and I didn't want to go for a long walk because it was pretty cold and windy out there. But then just before I started this message, the sun came out. It was beautiful and sunny outside, so it is a bit cloudy out there, but there is that hint of things warming up, things getting brighter. I still want to hit one of my bowls here, so here, let me just go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to show you my first message of the day. And this one starts with the journey of love at the top. Make sure that's true. Yep, journey of love, and then shaman dreams. And then my energy deck and then my mixed deck of Lenormand Reverie and the Kipper deck, and then my half deck of Rider-Waite at the bottom there, which is added. I think it's added later on in the message, actually. I'll pull it up a little bit so you can see the cards better. Okay, so for those of you not familiar, the left is the underlying energies, and the right is usually a pile after 3 cards that I count for numerology, but I also get messages from them, and sometimes I'm called to put it in a pyramid format, like you see. So before I get into that read, I'm going to give you some of the messages that were coming up. And as I'm starting, Out of Africa had come up. And there's that energy of Eden and Adam and Eve come up. And remember also, keep in mind in alchemy, that Eden is also considered the vapor, which then becomes the breath of the humans as we alchemize into our humanity. And as I've also brought up recently, I keep getting that we were actually seated by the Anu on a ship, not on the earth. But then, of course, brought back down to the earth, and maybe that original location was Africa. Okay, and I get a lot about Morocco. But also the Celtic areas were coming up very strongly as well. So the Nintendo, like, you know the controls from Nintendos that you would hold? That's one piece. I was getting that shape, but like floating on an ocean wave. As well as the energy of the N and the M, which is the Mary Magdalene and the Jesus energy. And again, the Nintendo GameCube was coming up. And guanine cytosine, the pair of DNA RNA by means of 3 hydrogen bonds. Flying and being entombed at the same time. Oh, the capital T as the top dog falling down. So like imagine the capital T falling on its side, like coming down very slowly, like in suspended animation, because you're not seeing it fall down because it's so slow and so gradual that it looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, okay, where it's actually suspended in midair. That was coming up. Hardship and flagship, and I was just getting mercy ship as well. So a lot of energies about the ships and on the ocean. Our love is like a ship on the ocean was just coming up now. And then I get into the symbolism of the pi. The pi symbol is the circle with the line down the middle is coming up as P lowercase I, whereas phi is coming up as P uppercase I without the H, although PHI is also the same. That H and the I are really the same, even though H is 8 and I is 9. If you knock one down on its side, it becomes the other. And there's that reference to the T, which is also top heavy, which is why it's falling down, which is also representing the powers that be coming down from power, right? When they're top heavy with no strong foundation, they eventually will fall down. So the T, as we start here, and the tree, right, the tree of life was coming up in many different ways in these readings. We have the tree with the roots at the bottom and then the branches at the top, so it reflects each other, right? And then we also have the lungs coming up in that same way, right? As the windpipe being the trunk, the lungs being the roots, and then the head being the tree. So there's a lot of different ways the tree was coming up and the way it is seen. And again, the energy of the leaf and the circle, which becomes the heart, right? When there's a weak spot there and it dents in or collapses within itself, collapsing in upon itself, is the energy of the implosion as opposed to the explosion out. And the rocket ship. And again, Newton's third law comes up too, right? The equal and opposite reaction. So all of this stuff is coming together to show you how it all works the same. It all ends up in the same place. The 698 pod, my pin diagram. And not only is the 698 pod, the 6 and 9 coming together, making the 8 inside the pod, but 68 and 89 are literal mirror reflections and inversions of each other. Okay, so it is the same, not only reflected, but inverted as well. So again, not only going side to side, but up and down as well. The T without a base falls. And so then we add a base, which then becomes the capital I. The X, remember, is the two of us falling into each other to do the dance. But remember that each line of the X is actually like the chromosome. It's a skinny 8. Like a chromosome, or two skinny 8s doing a dance in an X shape. So that was coming up as well. Remember that the infinity is 2 parentheses with an X in the middle. So if I talk about parentheses, remember that symbolism, that the parentheses is the outer part of the infinity symbol and the X is the middle part, and the toroidal field representing that as well. So when we have V in the middle, as in co-creation, because I've discussed that symbolism before, that 1V1 means co-creation and is the same as the M, right? The 1 and the V and the 1, but is also the same as the 2 parentheses on the outside with the 1 in the middle. So 1 equals that V of the creation, but 1 also equals the 2 parentheses, the C and the anti-C, the antithesis, and the parentheses, which is the pairing of the C's, the parentheses. So the V in parentheses and the I in parentheses are basically the same thing. They're all 1, 1, 1, basically. And ones are 2 dots and the leap of the chakra system. But the capital I is more of the I am presence, whereas the lowercase I is our chakra system that helps us awaken to that capital I self, the I am presence. The top dog with a strong foundation is the I am, the union of the infinity, which is the 3 8s, right? The two crazy 8s of the twins dancing side by side until that third 8 comes in, knocking them over, becoming the infinity symbol, which is represented by the T coming crumbling down, but very slowly in suspended animation. The top dog with a strong foundation and 2 humans co-creating. Remember that the I, even though it was a 9 and the 8 is an 8, when the I falls down, it becomes an H, but is also the infinity symbol, which is the 8. So the 9 and the 8 are coming together as the same, and that what this means, like in the 698 pod, remember we talked about the chakra system, that the 8 and 9 come in simultaneously, right? Because you can't have the 8 without the 9, right? Because you have to have the 9 to create the 698 pod, and you can't have the 9 without the 8. So they come in simultaneously to create the pod, where the 9 is just the infinity symbol cracked open to expand even further. And that will come up in the way it came up initially in the messages as well. So remember all these energies, and it's very simple because we're talking about the I, which is the H when it falls over, and the rolling stone, which is the 3 that falls over and becomes the M, which falls over and becomes the 3 and falls over and becomes the W. And that will come up at the end today as well. So perpetually expanding here as the 8 is cracked open to the 9. 8 and 9 is a pair. 89 also represents phi for me, which is, again, drawing outside the lines. It's that expansion and contracting, or staying in the middle, reflecting instead at the 0 point field. The 698 pod, the 2 P's in a pod, which also are represented by my safety pin example. Remember the reflection of 89 rather, is 98, which is the human body temperature. And T also represents the human body temperature. Okay? And also represents time out when it gets too hot, right? When the temperature goes too high, then it becomes top heavy and then will fall down. So then Amen came up, A-M-E-N, which is more of a masculine construct, because as humans, we always have seen him as a god, whereas the Pleiadians always see her as a god, Imana. And Elena Danan spells Imana as I-M-A-N-A, but I got it first in my messages as E-M-A-N-A, and that could be just serving purposes. It's the same sound, so it doesn't matter. The Amen is Amen. It has to do with men. It's also the AM, or morning, and also the I am Christ energy, or the group of men. It also means truly, we, us, hand kissing of one's elders and saying yes to all another says, right? So a yes man. It also, with Amar, means to love, to like, have great affection for, channel. And again, the trowel was coming up here for holding water, right? Something, and also a thin channel was coming up in definitions here today too. So the trough of that thin channeling, or a channel of water, a pool, or something that animals can eat out of, or drink out of rather. A bath or cistern, a tank, a vat. The trowel, the vessel, the tree, or wooden basin, the ladle or spoon. And then I was getting spoon-fed. Long narrowed depression between waves or ridges. The low portion of the wave cycle, which comes up again in another way. So again, that handle from the Nintendo game sitting on the ocean waves was also coming up between waves, or the low portion of the cycle. The low turning point was coming up here. The linear atmospheric depression. And then notice it's described as linear because in 3D we are linear. The T in the wave on the other page, which can represent as the Nintendo handle as well. And again, representing the T and the H, or becoming the I to the H. And then when I wrote Amen again, where Imana is the she god, or M, E-M, and then Anna, as opposed to Amen is a men, or En, which for me is Jesus, or Jesus Christ, right? The morning of Jesus Christ. The M, or co-creation, which is the she god, Imana, of Anna, which also can be one and oneness. So then I wrote down Amina as well, which is A-M-E-N-A, which means pleasant, to bring, to take, to fetch, to lead and reel in, the plural of amen. Okay? So Amina is coming up as multiple amens, which contains two A's and an E, just like Imana, which both add up to 16, which is the tower, and amen adds up to the 15, which is the shadow or the devil. So it's very interesting, the energies that were coming up there. And again, the vessel or the tree was coming up with amen as well. But, you know, which tree is that? The low portion of the cycle wave, and amen, also, when you write the capital A quickly, you literally end up drawing the line between the lines on an angle, which then becomes the T fallen down with a support on it to keep it there. So again, referencing that T falling down in a very slow, suspended animation fashion. With Adam and Eve, which is Adam co-created with Eve, where Adam is a dam or a block, and Eve is the E and the VE, which is the holy place of offering, the Christed aspect. So she represents the trap door and escape, whereas he is when top heavy falls down, the yes man, and when she's bottom heavy, she goes into the woe of no, but she is still rising at the same time. So reflecting and inverted, as I said before, the 89 and the 68, or 68 to 89, they are the exact reflection and inversion of each other. And represent the integration of the 6-9-8 pod, the 6 and the 9 coming together, which is love, family, and community of the 6, and that higher love of the 9 of compassion, and bringing those together to become the 2 peas in a pods in the middle. With the 7 as key, which is also the boomerang energy of the parentheses, and the ear, the gamma and the gamma waves. 2 gamma waves are like parentheses, but in motion, right? Because when you have a gamma wave, it's not even like a parenthesis would be. It shows motion. Like, I'm just going to show you the example. All right, so then you see motion in the parentheses when they're sitting back to back, but still the C's, but they're also the 7s or L's if you put them forward, representing motion. And then also the sign of Pisces, which is the 2 C's back to back with the line across, which represents the leap at the 0 point, you know, changing fields, changing dimensions. So Pisces is pi and C's, the circle with the line down the middle, like the moon, half and half, or sharing equally. And then the C's, of course, which can represent the oceans, or the seeing of your eyes, and the letter C's as the the C's, or the pairing of the C's. Where emotions in the C's are all up and down, the waves, representing the 5, expansion and contraction, or staying in the middle, reflecting. That pi, with its pi without the H, when the H is knocked over and becomes the capital I. So you no longer need the H in there when you integrate your higher self. That PI no longer needs the H, which is the lower aspect of the 8 dance, where the child and the adult in you also come in here, right? Whereas the PI with the lowercase I is the child in you learning how to be from a child's perspective, so that you can now retain that child aspect in your adult aspect coming from the top down, from your higher self, becoming the capital I, or I am presence, incorporating the child in the adult. And that was coming up at 1019 to 1020, which is the Wheel of Fortune, and then the sun going into the final judgment, the decision, the wake-up call. So that then brings the child and adult incorporated is taking the pi and phi energy and blocking one side off, like the apple would be, right? The apple shoots up in the toroidal field, but it's blocked from beneath in order to create direction or movement. And this leaf that's falling in on itself or twisted, and I keep getting that symbolism in many different ways. It doesn't always look like a leaf, but it looks like it's fatter at one side, and then it's curled over like a piece of paper that's thinner at one side, just curling over into itself. So again, this energy here, it becomes this symbolism right here. Okay, so you go from the circle with the line down the middle to the compression of the circle with the phi, either expanding one way or the other, or staying in the middle, reflecting. And then coming to this, where you close off or cap off one side, which causes a depression into the middle or the inversion. And again, collapsing in on oneself. And then the pod came up again, and the pin, because the pod and the pin are the same aspects of each other, just shown in different ways, right? Pod is POD, that's the 698 pod with 2 P's in a pod, which you see the 2 circles right there become the bottom of the pin, and this becomes the pin of the pin. Okay, so here's the pin with the 2 circles at the bottom, right? So we have a capital P and a D with another circle in there as well. So it's really the P and the D, and then the capital P on top. What did I just say? I meant B and D, and then the P makes it heavier. It's like the housing on top. So here's the pin, and again, that same energy, and you see the pin creates a vacuum in right here. So this is a vacuum space right there. And then it opens up. After the masculine energy over here uses up the energy, the divine feminine pin part falls out again to collect the sun, which would be over here. And again, representing also 1001. And it also represents a bed with a headrest to lean on. So the V was coming up as little I, or the chakra system with the third eye at the top, being 2 as 1. The V is 2 coming together as 1 at the bottom. And then the X, because the X then incorporates the masculine as well, because V is only the feminine creation, right? The womb, the ability to give birth. But we need to add the pyramid also, or the bottom of the X, to become whole for both masculine and feminine. So the capital I equals 9, or the infinity symbol, the 8 on its side. And then we have the 2 P's in a pod, which is the 8 in the parentheses, which also represents the chromosome X, or 2 8s in the parentheses, which equals the X in the parentheses. Or again, when you haven't, if these are really 8s and not lines each, there's 2 8s, which means there's 4 circles in a pod right here, like that. So there's not only 2 P's in the pods, but both masculine and feminine aspects of both. The feminine and masculine becomes then the 4 P's in the pod. So the X are the 88 and parentheses here, or the infinity symbol. So again, the X between 2 parentheses is the infinity symbol. But the line remembers 2 dots with a leap between the 2 dots. So it's not really a straight line, it's more of an arc. But the slanted line equals the slanted 8, suspended midstream, like the T, which becomes the Y. So when you have this angle right here, the suspended midstream here becomes the Y upside down, or the T that's falling over, as one of them is at the top, the flyer, and the other one is the bottom, the base. Creating the flyer and grounder scenario, but it's like the toy spinner that when you spin it, the top flies off. Well, here, the 2 8s there are dancing where the top flies off and becomes separate from the base, but then falls back down to become the X. It doesn't stay at the top, but winds back into the middle, becoming the chromosome X, okay? So it flies off the top. Where is that other one? Okay, it flies off the top like this T here, and then it comes back down to create the, the actual chromosome X over here of 2 8s in an X. So it's showing direction when it spins up and off the top, but then comes back again like a boomerang to come down even further, not just stay at the top, but fall into the middle. And creation, the word creation was coming up as significant, and breaking down create. And Cree is earth, soil, day, and dust. And the ship was coming up as stabilizing, the rigid part, the iceberg. It comes, one of the definitions was the stability of the ship, which stabilizes the ship, the CRE, or it's considered the stable part of the iceberg, the bottom of it. Navigating, collapsing, falling over the bottom, and all this stuff is coming up with Cree. And we're talking about the T falling over prior to that. The bottom is to cool, to become and kill. The throat, the tongue, the string, goat, and language also came up with that. So then I was guided to the 2 parentheses with the 8 in the middle. So if you have an infinity symbol, it's referencing the parentheses with the 8 in the middle, but it also becomes a heart when the parentheses are considered holding it. It's like a clamp, you know, is holding the 2 together. That becomes the heart, the compression of the 2 arms. And so the heart up and down we're coming up here like, I'm also getting, is it Newton's balls? I forget what they're called. You know, the metallic balls that bounce off of each other? Newton's cradle, that's right. That was, for some reason, that's coming up right here as something holding the balls together until they're pulled apart. But the reflecting heart, both up and down with the 2 balls at the top, and the coming together in the middle is like at the belly button. 2 hearts as one. And I was getting at first boobs and balls, right? So you have the 2 boobs at the top of the heart that's upright, and then the balls at the bottom of the heart that's upside down. And the space in the middle between the 2 hearts is one, the peak of the pyramid, which is the fire in the belly of his, and her creation connection, the belly button, right, the umbilical cord, and the tie-on. The creation or creat also is a point of the tie-on, the top dog connection, or the tiger lioness connection. Kriya is also to place one's heart, to trust and believe, to create, cause, and appoint. And notice that a point is also a point. The heart to give existence, to prepare and originate, or be the original, or the originator. And again, all bringing us down to the belly button, which is the umbilical cord, between the reflection of Newton's cradle. And I'm just getting Newton's cradle now, so I'm not sure what obviously it has to do with magnetism and movement and that equal and opposite reaction, which came up yesterday for sure. So when you put the 2 hearts together, or just starting from the 8, let's say, and I wrote that on the other page. I'm going to go back to the other page, but just to see the example better. If you have the 8, which is 2 circles, and then they become the apples, like the toroidal field would be. And then they become, what happens when the point collapses fully upon itself to the middle, it becomes, again, the chromosome, the flower, that which collapses in upon itself. So I wanted you to see that. And then these shapes here are also the hearts coming together in opposite directions. And this shape came up in a whole nother way, not because of what I'm doing now, but that came up in the messages as well. And then again, this looks like a 4-leaf clover over here as the hearts come together. So the two hearts collapse in on each other, which is really just the 8 or the infinity symbol, which collapses in upon itself, creating the chromosome. And again, the 6, 9, 8 pods, 6, 9, and 8 equals 23, which is this year, plus 7, which is the key of the 6, 9, 8 pod, equals 30 of the union, or the home. So again, this energy of the boobs of the upright heart, and then the balls of the upside down heart, and then the belly button in the middle, which also the 8 represents the torus, or the toroidal field. And the V is the she creation, the upside down V is the he pyramid, the fire in the belly, the accent, to create the X when they come together, or that chromosome, the dance of the crazy 8s. Bottom heavy is the feminine creation, cooling down after 8, or the number 8, which is the dance and the manifestation of dreams. He's the pyramid of the fire in the belly, who's top heavy before 8, or the number 8. So it's just interesting the way this is a literal translation. And then the breakdown of vagina is coming up here as well, because that's coming up as the, from the womb stuff coming up, and the umbilical cord. And that's the VA, which means go in French, but also going to represent the VA, right? The hospital for veterans. And then the GINA, G-I-N-A, is silent or solitary, cargo and freight. So creatinine then came up from creation, because creatinine is a marker for kidney failure. And as we're bringing up kidneys and lungs this week, the heterocyclic amine, 2 aminos, 1 methyl, 5 H and MIDADS, 4 midazole, and then 4-1. So the metabolism of creatinine, or creatine rather, equals meat and amino acid, and 2 of the carbonoyl methyl amino acidic. I can't even read my writing, acid. Anyway, it comes up as 2 different acids, amino acids, help supply energy to the muscle and nerve cells. So where the X is the V and the upside down V together, she's coming up as the slash forward, where he's coming up as the backward slash. She feeds to appoint, prepare, believe, trust, and set up the tie-on, the top dog connection, or the tiger lioness connection. But remember, a point is also a point. She to appoint feeds, prepares, believes, trusts, and sets up the tie-on, where he burns off with the mid-fire, the fire in the belly, the slow burn before meals, unties or ties off. So these energies of the upside down V and the right side up V, because, the X also becomes the diamond when you put the V's the other way around. And here's the 8s, the 2 8s, whether up or down. And then the energy in the middle here, which looks like 2 eyes, all right? And then there's a bridging of the nose, which then becomes the toroidal field, or the Star of Bethlehem, where, again, the 2 shared parts of the twins, and then the half sides on the outsides, which is the independent part. So there's reference to that. But here's coming up the reflection of the boobs and balls, the reflection of the lungs and the kidneys as 2 and 2, where the lungs also are like the roots of the tree. And when you look pulmonary, P-U-L-M means wedding in Estonian. And Estonian was also coming up here. So which is union, the wedding or union, is in the lungs. So the message I was getting here was look to the bottom of the lungs for union. And Estonia, which Onia is one's will and grace. To show, teach, find, and to see one's will and grace, their favor, their face or mouth to notice joy, affection, love, goodwill, and benevolence. I am the east, the person and excuse, the eve and the evening, the directive or direction. I mean, which is the intention, the bone and the horse, to fall I eat, and the cardinal point. To the south, the orient, the envy, and what goes around comes around, basically, the MYND, the imagination, the form, the movie, the film, the picture, the cine, which references the sine wave as well in medicine, to be, to stand, the star, and be present. One's mouth, a directive, intent, and horse, and hollow bone, one's eve or evening out, that I am to be present and imagine, to go around and become, and breathe, the BREA, which is the pitch and the tar, to buy bread, and the tarp and the sailor, to melt and make oil, to dip in tar, to abuse, mistreat, to mock, but also something that is fine and excellent. So to cover or tarp over something, to heat up and melt, to buy bread, mock fineness of thee. All coming from breathe. So she is the amino acid, all complete arbitrator. Friend, amen. Is it amen? To be it, water concedes and admits fault. Ours and us. She surrenders and flows in his wine, because he is Ethel. He is the wood wine. He drinks. He wines and she meditates. He is her wine. She is his water. He makes her feel numb and floaty, and she completes him. A very beautiful way of them coming together. So be aware that there's going to be shifts and changes. Earthquakes have been coming up a lot. And even from last year, I had read much earlier this year in 22, actually last year, that around this time, March to April, was a prime time for the earthquakes, the earth lines in the United States to be triggered. Like the main quake line in, I think it's Tennessee, but around that area, but it's huge, and it resonates out even to where I am in the Philadelphia area. But also, of course, the California quake lines would be activated as well. So don't be surprised if you hear about that. Remember that earthquakes happen every day. They just don't necessarily happen in a 7 or 8 magnitude, which is where it can get really difficult to deal with. So, and you might want to send love to those places, you know, to soften the blow, so to speak, if anything does come up. So this is my first message here from the cards I showed you already. This started at 6:18 to 6:24 on the 5th. And 6:18 is the Lovers and the Moon with the Sun, the Judgment card, the World, the Fool, the King of Wands, and the Queen of Wands to the Knight of Wands. All of those cards coming up along with the 6 of the Lovers, which is also love, family, and community. The cards at the end came out to 10, 11, 5, 3, 7, which doesn't come up in Gematria. But it was the Wheel, Justice, the Knight of Swords, and the Chariot, destined alignment, or Libra, Knight of Swords, in a bold move. So we start out at 6:32, which is the Lovers and the Journey, or the Journeyman, where the underlying energy was the Devil, the 15, and the 43 of the Bride offers herself, the 21 of Strategy, and the 5 of the Mature Man, the Whale, and the Magician, which is usually number 1. The Caged Animal, or Tornado here, comes together with the Bride offering herself, or Capricorn and Pisces with a Strategy and Whole, complete, coming full circle, with the Hierophant, or Mature Man of the world, or Taurus and the Whale, making magic with Gemini and Virgo, or that Mercurial or alchemy energy. And the whales, it definitely came up last night. I haven't listened to the whale sounds in a long time, and usually I would put on dolphin sounds, not necessarily whale. And I was guided to put whale sounds on last night, so that energy of the deep sea is coming up very significantly here. At 6:43 is the Lovers and the Three of Cups. The Foolish Emperor reversed, who perhaps offers to hang out, or is losing their temper as the fallen angel, or with the fallen angel, confessing to the Queen of Cups with new passion to end the pain, or in a painful ending, or perhaps getting a massage, climbing the walls in pain, or feeling trapped like that trapped animal, with no way out post-war, PTSD, or at night, with the dogs, or dancing with wolves, or howling at the moon as this full moon just passed on the 7th into the 8th, or actually the 7th. As the full moon approaches, because this was just before the full moon, dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and being alone as the wounded warrior sits on the steps with dependent or powerless to the Six of Pentacles, sharing, or Taurus offering Libra a token, right? Either offering Libra or offering a token to them as the Hermit's reverse, losing their mind, or coming out about the devil inside, feeling like that caged animal trapped or locked up with the demon worshippers, or drawn into the devil himself. At 6:52 is the Lovers and the Queen of Swords, as the Nine of Swords is the energy of being in fear, of suffering in silence, or perhaps of the seas, stressed out with the Three of Swords and separation, with the Page of Pentacles upright, where the Page of Cups is working with the King of Wands to choose a path, with the Palace of the intellect here, the Palace of Swords, and the Page of Wands in a heated exchange. Or no, actually I didn't show you this one. I wasn't going to give you this message, but I'm just going to finish this paragraph. The Page of Wands in a heated exchange, or not telling the Six of Cup kids, their soulmate, about the third party Queen of Pentacles reversed, or that they're not coming together with the Queen of Pentacles reversed, who may be seen as a bad influence, or the Page of Pentacles is mother or sister. So what came up in the end of that message was the Page of Cups 44 and the Queen of Cups 44. And the 44 is that Hercules energy of the weight of the world and her harvest. And the fourth chakra is coming up, right? 44 is also the ring finger to the heart chakra, the fourth to the fourth. And that was coming up between Queen of Cups and the Page of Cups, which can be a mother and daughter energy, or the feminine energy where emotionally the masculine is rising in their emotions right now. So now I'm going to get into the read that I actually did show you. And that was done on the 6th from 11 on the dot to 11:04. The Good Tarot, was that? Nope. Sorry, I did a lot while I was missing in action this week. But I'm only going to give you those three that I told you. There was a message on the 6th about the masculine energy and the heart collapsing or torn. The energy of an SOS being sent out as well, or skipping a heartbeat before getting to the sine wave. Right? It's that energy of totally going out of sequence in order to come back into sequence properly. Very interesting. And Jehovah's Witness had come out that day, as well as the Jews, the ox in the bed, and again, getting to the sine wave, or that balance, that perfect balance of give and take. All right. So this read that I showed you was very masculine energy, and this was on the 7th, which is the full moon day. Okay, so that was Tuesday. And it was from 10:55 to 11 o'clock, the 10 of the Wheel of Fortune and 55 of the Truth, 56 of the Two of Swords, 58 to 59, which is the Four of Swords to the Five of Swords, which is the the rest and then the war, right? Going from meditation to the war within, or fear, after the 5D connection. And then 11 o'clock on the dot came up with the last deck of dreams, which is double zeros backing up the 11 of alignment. So the cards at the end were 1164 and also came up as 1162. And I did look them up in Gematria. The 1164 came up as it didn't make complete sense. Something about the Second Amendment and JC, but it started out with DA, like the father. The Second Amendment, JC. And then the second entry was by the people, for the people. The third was Yehovah, YEHOVA. Number 4 was Newcastle. Number 5 was Can't Help Falling in Love. And then from 1162, martial law came up. 1163 came up, which is Vicarious Filii Dei, as well as Project Blue Beam coming in right after that. Satan's exact coordinates, which the other numbers came up on that line, were 1500 and 250. And then the fourth was Project Blue Beam again. So, and Vicarious Filii Dei also came up as was 666 from the donation of Constantine, which happens to be my father's name, from 8 to 9 AD, referring to St. Peter, the first pope of the Catholic Church, and the donation recognized as a forgery. This information has been recognized as a forgery since then. But, deeming the Pope as the official representative of the Son of God, or is the Son of God, like transferring power over to them. So that's why it's been poo-pooed on since then. And then Project Blue Beam came up with a couple different things. Sergei Namaste died 12/5/96, age 51, came up with that entry for some reason, 1994. NASA and the UN and so-called New Age religion with the Antichrist at the head has made a resurgence in recent times. The New World Order is not a dream or paranoid thought, a real satanic project with 4 goals. And again, I'm not supporting or rejecting this. This is just what this was stated as it came up. The New World Order is not a dream or paranoid thought, a real satanic project. The 4 goals was the 1, to abolish all Christian traditional religions for one religion, the cult of men. 2nd, to abolish all national ID and pride, which then would result in world pride. 3, abolish the family of today for individuals all working for glory, for a one world government. And the 4th was to destroy all individual artistic and scientific creative works. So the underlying energy here was the 8 of the yin-yang lover. And by the way, the Vicarious Filii Dei is the inscription on the throne of the Pope, which transfers the power of God basically to the Pope. And if you break it down in that language, the U and the V are the same. So there's actually 2 V's in that. And it ends up coming up as V1 and then car in the middle, and 1-4 on the other side, which again is the 6 and the 4, which we always come up as 4 and 6. But 6 and 4 is the 10 of swords, or the pain given, whereas the 4-6 is the enlightenment of the children. So it's the opposite of that. Very interesting the way it came up. The vehicles of pain versus the joy of children. So with this underlying energy of the yin-yang lover, the 38 of the many masks, the 31 of the door to value, and the 5 of cups, the dancer divine feminine bending over backwards to remove the wound with her right hand, to keep the vortex sealed and flexible with her left. The energy of the capital N, but in movement, leaning forward, to keep the mountains even. If U equals V, then N equals that upside down pyramid of the masculine energy of Jesus. And then Nun would be NVN as well, which is nanny. And then NV equals the Navajo, or never, and new, NU, with the 2 dots over the U. Novel, new variant. And the VN equals un, or very nice, or visual and novel again. The UN being the, well, you know the UN, the international UN, but also the wet nurse in Vietnam came up. Oh, by the way, Vietnamese, so many Vietnamese translations have come through. I had I love you come through in Vietnamese, teacher, and I know there was multiple others, and it's just very synchronistic that they're all Vietnamese coming up. So there's a lot about Vietnam coming up. And then the violin comes up here too. And then the North Canada Arctic area comes up under there as well. The female slave being very nice. The Navajo, the new variant, the UN, the veterinary nurse, and again, Vietnam and violin, and the sound of the violin as new. But nun is not just a nun, like in the Catholic religion. It comes from NUNNE, which means woman, and tutor, as well as prostitute, and pigeon with feathers on its head. Whereas nonus was the man to the nun woman. So NUNNE was woman, and NONNUS was man. So nun actually was a description of a woman, but they're just telling you that a woman was expected to be like a nun and not be who she wanted to be controlled, or to at least control her sexuality, or not have a sexuality. The now moment comes up underneath that as well, in 1, at this time, we, and salt, the godfather at a wedding, as well as bread and message. So with nun and nunas as man, like grandma and grandpa, or baby talk for a man and a woman, or grandfather and grandpa. But also when I drew them, symbolically, they came up as the 4 mounts and the 3 valleys, or the 7 points of reference. So if U equals V and N equals the upside down V, then each with a tail to connect, to become that N with movement, or that Christ energy with direction. Again, one connecting to the next, equal and opposite and congruent at the same time. The Divine Feminine 8, the dance to pencil in. The 38 of the Queen of Cups, and the many masks of the authentic self that she wears. And notice that a mask is shaped like the infinity symbol. And then the mushroom was coming up here, the mushroom cap, where the masculine was coming up as the mushroom, and the feminine version was coming up as the umbrella, which came up to remind me when I did that meditation that the etheric grid is like mushrooms, caps around the earth, all lit up. So the 3-8 of the Queen of Cups, the 3 is coming up as the mushroom lying down, and the 8 coming up as the infinity lying down, the 3-8. The 8 as the mask, and then the mush is also the umbra, the shadow, the uninvited, +1. Umber is also reddish brown, shade or overshadowed. Dark, rotten red, HMR, which I was just getting Hummer with that. And then ghost comes up with mush as well. Wet, fat, dripping moose, noise mix of harmonic wave stations, the foam of the breaking waves. And a certain type of fish came up there too, with mush and umbra. So mush is coming up with magma and man, and umbra with shadow and woman, the ghost in the valley, right? One being the mountain, one being the valley. The magmatic body, crystals suspended in liquid phase or melt, make into smaller pieces to walk with snow dogs, or a magic mushroom, all were coming up under that. So the man is the human being, according to mush in Sanskrit. the face to notch, indent with a stamp. Strong Queen of Cups, being 838, just requires an E to complete the 888, or one that's equal and congruent to dance with the Queen of Cups, right? To find that equal partner. The 31, the door to value, or congruent and equal to one taking that leap, the arc, bridging to source before starting at one again. Allowing the sadness of the 5 of Cups to run through you, releasing the old so that you can accept the new. Dumping out the still salty waters that run deep, to refill with fresh from the river run through it, cleared by the mountains or the rain source direct. One blessed drop will prevent the whole batch from going bad. The positive expansion or enlightenment of going viral is stronger than the destroyer contract, or in other words, your limitations, at 1233, which is Christ on the cross. So then at 34, at 34, the card 44 came up, which is Rings of Time, and we just talked about the 44 being the fourth finger to the heart, the fourth chakra. At 1, 2, 3, 4, shut the door. So the Rings of Time and the 25 of the seed of the heart, that question mark, and the 41 of knowing without knowing, the Mary Magdalene energy of the Holy Grail, the buttercup, her harvest of the Knight of Wands and the Holy Grail, the penis in the womb as she carries the weight of the world for a time, 9 months, and the 50 of the cloak, which is the family protection, the emotional fulfillment, where then the 25 was written as the 2 and the 5 in block back to back, becomes the perfume bottle. The 41 and the 50 equals 91 of the central sun. And the question mark is the perfume bottle, the scent to inspire a fire to get to the 41/50, the Ace of Cups and the 10 of Cups, which is the one and the all, from the Holy Grail to 0 point, and the tunneling effect. Again, that kind of slow motion suspended animation. The scene, right, of the film, of the sine wave. The scene, right, you use that word in medical equipment, like looking at a moving MRI. Each moment of a movie, moving the E, one equal and congruent to the next, from the 2 of the womb to the 4 of the heart, and the quantum entanglement between of the 3 solar plexus, from the leap into the 3, the intersection or the crossroads, to the 4 of the lambda leap. The 4 is the L and the 1, the leap of the lamb to the Father, and then the leap home again. The ability to leap back to source without leaping back in to achieve the 10 of Cups emotional fulfillment with the family's love and emotions at 1243. Hanging out, seeing new perspectives, and coming together. Enjoy. After closing the door, opening it again. The 43 of the 3 of Cups coming together, where the bride offers herself, able to withstand the chaos of the turbulence, the wave vibrations, the noise of harmonic wave stations. The 54, which is the Page of Swords, but also reference the 5 and the 4 of freedom and stability, the dance between the two, between the odd and the even. The Earth Angel, the Page of Swords, Mercury's blanket to soften the sun's effect. To go between the bride and her love, the 5 and the 4 of freedom and stability, where the 5 is also the S, right, or the pointy S of Sophia's wave, and the 4 is the lamb to the Father's leap, right, finding your stability and touching base with source before beginning again. The 1254, hanging out with the Page of Swords, the seed of her labor in carrying her child. With the help from the family, the bride offers herself as the messenger, the Earth Angel, in the dance of the yin-yang lover, clearing the wounds, the sword and the stone, so he won't be afraid to enter the vortex, the tunnel, the field, her secret garden. E's den, or Eden, which is also dens, D-E-N-S, which is the fourth, not the fourth, but the point of the axis. So the axis holds the atlas on the point, which is the dens, that support system within, inside, right? So working within the group, within the person, within your twin. The den, or the dens, is the point, the tooth of the axis that holds the atlas, which is actually just shoulder pads for the man who is atlas within, with destroying power, right? It's the one, like the woman behind the man. The one behind the person is the one with the power, because they can destroy them from within. It supports atlas from within, the axis does, and the lens with the dens is the lentil, or the optic lens, and defocuses electron beams, and then blue beams were coming up with that, referencing the two parentheses, which when they're flipped both the same way becomes the new moon, or that the arced moon, the luna, the two concave arcs, the body of ice, rock, or water shaped like convex lens, to film, to shoot, a way of looking at something, to become thinner towards the edges. But also the harpoon to kill whales also came up. So here's whales again. Feeling empty or weak, flaccid, knit, and contact lens all came up under lens. So ease dens is the axis's point that holds atlas, or the map of intent. The axis is also the axle, which equals CZ, the strong bony protrusion, the process, which equals the dens. Its oval holds the arc of atlas. The odontoid peg, or the ascension of the atlas, is fused to the ascension of the axis. The ascension of the atlas is fused to the ascension of the axis. They must ascend as one together. And remember, the axle is also associated with the axis. 1.5 turns. The shoulder, the armpit, that which transfers energy to be applied, right? So something that holds the energy to transfer to something else. And that atlas is the bearer of the heavens, to endure, to suffer. Also, rich and Satan come up, fabric and maps, and the moth also come up with atlas. So axis is spinning, or in Wiki, looks like a man's upper body, right? With the shoulder pads and elbows bent and huge gloves on, like oven mitts. It looks like a J that came together, like an iron worker working with something, right? They had to have their hands totally covered. Axis looks like Atlas, the man, whereas Atlas, the vertebrae, equals the ring that spins like a collar, the collarbones and the shoulders. But axis is the head that allows Atlas to articulate or move, right? So they move their head from within, while axis stands still, right? So it's like the feminine aspect working through the masculine. The dens supports the Atlas from within. And the lens, which defocuses the electron beams or the blue beams, so that axis equals neutron, and the atlas the pro, as the world or head are the electrons, or the elect, with more freedom, but the neutron is fixed, but with all the power and control, while the pros, who are the messengers from source neutron access, the power behind the throne. So fixed with power, but without freedom of the cardinals, where the mutables are the pros who go between, is a more positive way. The axis is the trunk, and the atlas is the branches, or the map of intent, to the leaves, the elects, with a lot of energy and movement. The freedom, but also are soft and die easily to transform to the mulch and feed the others. So the axis source stays behind the lines. Which is better, as Atlas takes the hit, and all the children running around crazy, but vulnerable until maturity. They need protection, love, and someone to watch after them. Fixed number 2, but inflexible. The cardinal has the most attention with free will, but is also the most exposed to assassination of other immature cardinals. The mutable number 1 are the go-between to polarize, mediate, and take the hit, and circle back to source to make a new map of intent. So the world then came up as we have the Four of Wands and the Four of Pentacles with the King of Wands, which was coming up as her harvest and the home of the Divine Masculine's heart inside, with space or buffer to the King of Wands outside. Her harvest at 137, which is the Magician and the King of Wands, are 3 keys. Her harvest of 4 of Wands, which is 2 U's, and the pin as the energy of 2 U's outside to deal with the world. So again, it's that same relationship of the old style way of seeing, the feminine takes care of the masculine in the house and the family, so that the masculine can go outside the house, which is more risky, and take care of others in the world while she supports him. The world is the word with an L stuck in there, which is a leap. Word is world with that L stuck in just before the 4th quarter. The final thorn or sword, the S word, between the old war, W-O-R, and the D to complete the pin of the PD pin, where N tipped over means Z as the Divine Masculine, and S tipped over becomes UN, or the Sun, as the Divine Feminine, reflecting. So W-O-R is hour and stone and path, the path of one. To exist and snow. And snow is also Sophia's now moment. Where, what, when, and that. The scrotum, the sac, the bags under the eyes. The man related to covering. And Worcester, the basket maker. Between our snow, or Sophia's no moment, and the stone, which is Sophia's tone, and the bags of the man under his eyes and the balls of the man, related to covering, the man who makes baskets of stone to cover and protect. From 2 U's, human embodiment of source, gamma waves, to the human who is directly connected to source in the end. Between is a leap or intervention, an interruption from Sophia's now moment and Sophia's tone, in the path of one, to just being human in direct connect to source. The leap from word to world is a trigger point, the 3rd baton that has now been passed, the warning bell near the end of the race, the clarion call home. So then I asked why this came up. So if there are 12 months in a year, which is a major nature cycle, then why are there only 9 months in a human pregnancy? And then they showed me that and notice that 3/4 or 9 months out of 12 months is 75%, and 75 is the 7 of Pentacles, which comes up in the SIRIAN Starseed deck as the Divine Feminine's heart in the E Tower. So remember when I said the E Tower, because the E Tower is, right, the tower with the little E's on top. So 72 and 75 both came up here in block letters. So then we have 7-2, 7-5. So the 7-7 is the sovereign, and the 25 is that perfume bottle. In a flip of the switch, in a boomerang effect, where 77 and 25, which is the sovereign and the Knight of Wands, the sovereign is on the scent, the digamma, which is the twin flame, senses. 1 to get ready, 2 to go, and 9 to stay steady between, The leap to the arc, or the bridge in, and this is all about practice, as the leap, and then the Q of the Queen, where the double E's were coming up like a blur, where the Queen is the Q of conception, and the energetic exchange between the U and the N being up to bat. And remember, the U and the N is the S fallen down, so it's really Sophia falling on her face. The conception of the U and the N with the energetic exchange between, up to bat and to make contact in a home run not just first, second, or third base, but all four, which equals 5. The freedom that comes with the end of the game. And that's interesting too, because the 4 being 5 came up again today. It takes practice to leap in. And again, this is also referencing that when you have all 4 bases, you've hit the home run, which then is the 5. Just like the 4 elements become ether, considered the 5th, but it's really just 4. The freedom that is the collective of the 4 that comes with the end of the game. It takes practice to leap in and time to acclimate leaping out, then easier to get into the war than it is to get out. So what they told me was it's 2 months of PTSD from the shooting and looting from mom, forgiving being squeezed or put through the ringer when being birthed out the canal in the chute, and then forgiving self for taking advantage. So there's a month before the 9 months that's preparatory or a practice time for the soul to leap in and out, for conception to stick. And then the 2 months after the birth to acclimate in to make sure you stick, right? To make sure the soul is able to stay. So first is the practice and prep in the conception. Second is the mastering. The second quarter is the mastering or staying in school from 3 to 5 months. The third is the pure growth from 6 to 8 months of the pregnancy. And then the 9th month through the next couple months is mostly out already. 9th month plus 2 is the time to acclimate out and breastfeeding. Again, the preparation outside of the womb, where it's actually a 12-month cycle of the soul. And that was all at 222. So at 223 is the leap into the 23. 2:23 can represent the year 2023. Bending within and then opening doors to value, to purge. Opening of the floodgates to go through the tunnel. The fun house, quote unquote, of mirrors, as the floodgates came up today again as well in a totally different way. And C2. So 1-2, remember the 1 is a leap. So not only does 1-2 beat 12, but it's also C2. And 2 is also Q. So there's lots of different ways these things can come up. And the C is the whispering bench, and the Q is the conception. And the C is also covering, right? The protection, the cloak. So at 225, the first card out here was the 36 of the cosmic butterfly, the 21 that she is the moon, and 33 of God speaks. And the dog came up here, rough. And this could be tough love, as God speaks here, since the dog came up as rough. So at and as came up with Atlas and world. And notice as we took the L out of world to become word, the same they're doing here with Atlas. They're saying it's the same. So Atlas without the L is at and as. And world without the L is word. So ATAS means high or arrogant, to attach or latch on, to tie or tie up, bind or tether and fasten. The map of intent without the leap. To repair the fishing net upstairs in connection with, upon, regarding, due to, and over. An order, a command, a mandate, allocation, or partition is atis without the L, without the leap in or back. The high word, the tethering or repairing, connecting within the command. Major Tom was then coming up here, which is the top dog of that T, and the Om. The top dog's Om to co-create, to ground control. The 33 of Christ, the go-between, through unity consciousness. The time out, jump, or the leap to 3, or Om. The jump to 3 is the 1, 2, 3 leap. And 3 was coming up with the Om. And 4, which is the number 4, unity, which is 1, with gratitude. So it comes up as the jump is 1, 2, 3, but remembering to go to 4 before going back to 1 and starting over again, because 4 is going home to source. Go back to source for unity before starting at 1 again with gratitude. So the 2, 3, 4, 1 comes up here. To all, 4, 1. because the 3 is coming up as the all. And then to the 4, leaping to the 4, 1. 3 is Mother Nature. 3-3, Christ consciousness or the Christ vibration. 3-3-3 is that source, or the top 3, and then the leap at source, which equals the 0 point of nothing and everything all at once, the point of no return. Mother's nature and Father's nature, or Mother's nature and Father's intent, and the bridge between, the planets and the stars and the ether, to be, the intent, or not to be, or to expand. So it's the planets and the stars and the ether as the Mother Nature. The Father's nature or intent is intent, and then the bridge between is consciousness, which also is the Mother is to be, the Father to not be or expand through the bridge between of consciousness. The strength of Atlas in the Mother's touch, that she is the moon, her combination. She holds them both in her heart so that God can speak to both of them when he's not listening. The 21 of she and he as the world 3 connect to source through the 33, or 2, the 333, the 0 point tunnel. The tunnel is TUMEL, where 2 co-create with LEL, or the capital L of the lambda leap, where 2 is the Q, so QL is the conception of the L, the query language or the question, the juice, that it and he and me and what if. We had 8, 36, 21, and 33, and then 1 of the heart fire. Through the heart rose, or the rose heart, or risen heart, comes the bubbling up of the Christ consciousness. God speaks through the risen rose heart. All right, so you are the you will be as your higher self with you, but all at the same time, right? So God speaks through the risen rose heart. The aspect of you that has risen already is the aspect of you that God speaks through. The heart on fire, unafraid of weight lifting, or spirit lifting, a physical and emotional world. Right? You have to be not only not afraid to be human, but not afraid to be spirit as well, in a physical and emotional world. At 252 of the feminine and the Queen of Swords, the 42 is the 2 of Cups of the netcaster, and the preparations that come to fruition, with the 54 page of swords and the alchemist's initiation, is the crossing, giving half of self or half the tree to make the bridge out of, to join to the other side, as then the other side does the same and puts another half of the tree on top of it for the whole tree on the bridge. Freedom and stability to cross and be secure. The 2 of Cups message of the twins' purification into the 21, the whole of the first breath in the beginner's mind, being clear and open in a whole new world after casting a net upon which to build a foundation. The 7 of the covenant, the key and the vehicle of sacred contract, the 21 and the 7, which equals 28, the twin flame contract with the world to rise, be open-eyed, and the 17 of the eye of the needle, the clear initiation to dream and ask what if, to see with the eyes of a child, in the natural flow of push and pull, to spin and jump, the page of swords done and boldly leaping for their dreams to come true, with the Queen of Cups, with Pisces, Cancer, and Aquarius coming up here. At 302, from 42 to 38, which are 2 numbers of mine, so I was just resonating with that, which has to do with my soul number and my outer personality number, how people see me and how I see myself. So the first card out here at 304, which is the 3 of the Empress and the 4 of the Emperor with space between, but also Mother Nature and the Lambda leap and back. The 53 of the Stranger who's curious to mix laser and water or spring, and the Knight of Swords reflecting in a pool. And that always brings up, sinking in a gentle pool of wine. So coming up from Jesus Christ Superstar. The 20 in the wake-up call to the Feast of Plenty, the choices and their consequences, and the 2 swords in 1 stone to get to 21. Or the message of the age of Aquarius, to laugh and enjoy before Capricorn restricts. The 47 of the Sky Bridge, forming the heart to crown with possibility for union. So it's literally saying that the bridge is from the heart to the crown with possibility for union as God speaks through it or speaks it into being. The Knight of Swords with plenty to share as Mozart and Beethoven harmonize, harm on eyes and music to your ears. The 61 of the whale song resonating in deep, bellowing portal. The sky bridge, the arc, the tunnel, and the sea portal. So again, the tunnel and the arc coming up. And the arcs that are deep at the bottom of the sea, like in the Bermuda Triangle. The 42 at 3:18, which is coming up as halftime. The 42 of the 2 of Cups, woman holding the coin or the token with dark cat and lover's contract. And the 35 of Archangel Michael at root of the wounded warrior. And that was so funny because Mike kept coming up in so many different ways, whether Archangel Michael or like a microphone mic. And then I ended up having someone come out to do some work. And so I'm going to be doing work with Mike. So Dark Cat and Lover's Contract and Archangel Michael at the root of the wounded warrior. Of she and he, where she the 2 of Cups and he the wounded warrior. And the balancing without eyes or without ego. But wheeze and breathing in deeply to feel and know. And that could be somebody wheezing as well. Maybe someone's got asthma or having trouble breathing. Because we're talking about the lungs here and healing the lungs. I'm also still getting some right hip soreness. And that little bubble in my left sole of my foot is still a little puffy there, but it feels like it's going away. But remember, everything takes time in very slow motion. So every time you get a wound in your body, it's working its way through a wounding there. So it takes some time. Like if you hurt your shoulder, it could take 6 months to a year and a half to heal. And you need to be patient to allow it to do its thing, because you're not just healing the physical pain, you're healing the wound behind the wound. So again, there's that T falling as well, right? The top dog crumbles, but it happens very slowly. So the balancing without the eyes, without using your eyes to see, using your knowing, but also without the eye of the id. But wheeze and breathing and deeply to feel and know the 29, being present to the whole world. The gift of the distance and the large perspective before returning to your own backyard where there's no place like home and homey. The 30 of seeing the earth from a parallel dimension, 2 living in 2 worlds or different time zones with 29, 30, and 31 all coming out in a row. The world, the garden, and the gate. And what do you value? The whole, the home. The whole as in an absent space and home, the housing and the whoosing, the hows, who's, and whys, and wives. And wheres. The travel away and the home, or with group making money, conflict, battle, competition, or play, sports, acting, and the pursuit of happiness here. At 329, the Empress or abundance and being present in the moment, or perhaps waiting for your ship to come in. The 24 of adjacent possibilities, the 8 of indecision, and the 5 of attachment. And notice here, because 24 is Omega and the Pleiades, and the enlightenment, it represents enlightenment at the top of the head. And then 8 and 5 together are considered greased lightning, very powerful. So it's coming up as indecision and attachment at the same time. The Queen of Wands in the dance of freedom to remove the mask, with greased lightning and grounding the union on the way to grandmother's house. So the indecision and attachment has to do with the fact that she's indecisive because she's scared to go through the woods. The only way she will get there is her attachment to her grandmother, otherwise she wouldn't go at all, right? It forces her hand to make a decision. So at 3:33, the 48 of the angel of balance goes within. The 25 of the knight of deceit plays the cards they have dealt. She sees water and he sees wine, as the 7th chakra, Archangel Uriel, crowns with the Ace of Cups and a need for self-love. He, the innocent side, and the bad boy side, pretty in pink as the twin flame victory sinks in, making a hard choice, knowing within, and following knowing rather than being manipulated. The 36 of Atlas with a map of intent, and creatively 2nd chakra, Archangel Ariel, as the 23 King of Wands is still tempting them, all tied up with nowhere to go but in. Thinking about meeting in Sherwood Forest, her bad boy and his naughty girl, or bored of the same old games, the magician and risky business, leaving the Knight of Wands to achieve peace, but then bored thinking of the King of Wands again, and where's the balance to achieve? And remember, this is the year of the King of Wands balancing his passions. So 342 is the Empress and the 2 of Cups. Between the heart fire and the depth of emotion is the 342 of the 2 of Cups and the underlying energy of the post-war, where the moon is upright, the high priestess is upright, or Cancer and Pisces, and the King of Pentacles reversed, tired, sick, or drained, and overexposed or burned, and release of the Empress, birth, abundance, being a placeholder while things are on hold, awake to the ego, or extra duties to protect the mother and the weight of the world in the awakening. A precarious situation on the tippy toes, with home with a door left open, and the Knight of Pentacles reversed and the Journeyman reversed, stuck home, or fighting, not working, or fell and can't get up, with the Tower upright and a sudden realization or explosion of until death do us part, and what that actually means, and depressed, or the grief after death, if last one standing, and major Scorpio here, as in the South Node right now at 350, the Empress and the Happy Family, with Taurus in the North Node letting go of the need for drama, money, sex, death, and taxes, transformation, with Mars in Gemini, and dark shadows coming out this full moon, March 7th. So at 355, the first card there with the Empress and the Ace of Swords and Excalibur, the Queen of Swords reversed, which could be the Lady of the Lake, perhaps a stranger to themselves in a disappearing act. With the 9 of Pentacles upright and the 6 of Pentacles reversed, the sovereign is not sharing and whole and keeping to themselves. With the energetic exchange or arrows of love, or the 9 of Pentacles sovereign feeling scammed by love in the energetic exchange with the Queen of Wands looking back or from the past, or the Queen of Swords reversed wondering where her Queen of Wands self went, or literally the Queen of Wands left the Queen of Swords reversed to go back to play with the King of Wands, taking a risk of fire in their heart, or the Knight of Swords not wanting to share with the Queen of Swords reversed and the Queen of Wands upright with them between them. Or fiery Leo and or Taurus ghosting, not telling anyone, or after the Knight of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Wands reversed in an all-out fight, or Taurus falling short or fell off the wagon and freaks out, or Scorpio does in underlying energies, and now the Knight of Swords is upright with the Queen of Swords reversed, having it out with the Queen of Wands who disappears or runs away to grandmother's house, or the fire signs, Queen of Wands, Knight of Wands, and King of Wands come together here, or the King of Wands enticing the Queen of Wands in, back to the past, or to their old ways and or addictions. Perhaps Taurus and Leo with codependent issue, perhaps the Queen of Wands opens to the group, and the Queen of Wands is closing up into the hermit mode here at 414 of the Emperor and the Angel, or that higher love. So as we go from 414 to 15 of angels and demons, the underlying energy of the half deck then I brought in, as the Dark Knight meets the Hermit, or the King of Cups light is on, or Dark Knight, Scorpio and Death, reminding the Hermit Virgo of the long way down, and walking into that dark night. And there's this energy of the 61/7 number, 61, to the 81, which brings up the pod, right? The 698 pod, because you need the 7 to get in, but the 9 has to come up with the 8 at the same time. And there's a reference about that, because 61 is also the card of the liar, cheater, thief, or the risk card. And 81 is the end of karma around the world. So taking the risk is coming up as the power to get to that 81. So we have the dark horse on the white horse, the reaper of Grimm. And if he rides a white horse, he can't be all bad because the horse likes them. Leaving the scene as the forensics come in of the detail person with great affection for the Queen of Pentacles, High Priestess, or calling in a psychic to the crime scene for work, or lovers Scorpio and Virgo and earthy Pisces, or crime scene of lovers as the project offer comes in, or Scorpio, Virgo, Gemini, and Pisces are all home being offered a project or a choice of path or trip, the path to self-satisfaction coming full circle, or happy to be back in the neighborhood with the Page of Cups, or Cancer, happy to be around the Page of Cups and Page of Swords, or with a message of the Sovereign with no sleep, or up really, really early to travel, or staying with friends. The Page of Wands, exalted, or perhaps excited to be with the Page of Pentacles and Knight of Pentacles, or working for justice, Judge or Libra, with the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands, as the Knight of Cups offers freedom from a partnership with the King of Swords. Perhaps Aries is leaving and being replaced by the Knight of Wands and the King of Pentacles, or the King of Pentacles is just willing to cover this one time, perhaps taking call for them at 427, the Emperor and the Ace of Wands, new passion. So it could also be kids having to testify in court here, perhaps about the King of Wands and the Queen and King of Wands, or the Queen of Wands and King of Wands are supporting the Page of Wands with the Page of Pentacles and Knight of Pentacles, who may be siblings or friends of them, or getting them off the hook from having to deal with the King of Swords or King of Pentacles or their issues here. At 433, the Emperor and the Christ vibration, the first card being the Six of Cups with the King of Cups, or the King of Pentacles and the King of Cups are old friends or siblings. And the Empress is with the Queen of Cups, or the King of Cups is with the kids, while the Queen of Cups is healing mother or grandchild or helping them, or moved in with their mother. The Emperor with the wounded warrior and magician, or the Emperor and the magician are holding the wounded warrior at the hospital or in court, while the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords testify or swear in, or the devil made me do it, or the ball and chain here. Or the King of Cups is the Emperor, and the Queen of Cups is the Empress, and the magician is the King of Pentacles, and could be a sibling rivalry here, or getting sibling services just this once. The wounded warrior, Sagittarius, or Mike perhaps, in a jam, either got really hurt or arrested or charged, or the King of Pentacles brought his own guard or protection, doesn't trust the Emperor. As the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords deal with the Devil or Capricorn, Aries and Gemini or Virgo here, or Gemini is getting the Emperor to testify on their behalf. All right, and that's the end of that one. And that was the day of the full moon on the 7th. And again, that T falling over of the top-heavy structures falling down, but in suspended animation. So it looks like it's not moving, but it is, very slowly. The T of the bed and the hammerhead on an ocean, the be-all, end-all, or our love is like a ship on the ocean. The antithesis, the T without the base, Nintendo GameCube control and activated takeoff. Flying and entomb, the top dog coming down in slow motion, suspended animation, electric charge, and cardiac output. The workshop, to become old, to prepare ointments. At the helm with the kite and the digging tool, the golf cart, the flagship surrender, and the arrow wrapped up in a bow. With guanine and cytosine, and sight unseen. The pair of DNA and RNA by means of 3 hydrogen bonds. And now it's just getting Generation X. Congrats. The torus, direction, and century are all coming up there, and the upside down Y being the T that's falling over. So again, I told you an SOS was coming out from the masculine here at the full moon, as well as them perhaps saying shit, with butterfly wings and kites and 2 ships in the night, and the natural logarithm to the base of E, and the now moment of the feminine. The home, the dwelling, the electric vehicle, and light novel, but also liquid nitrogen to the base of E coming up. And again, asking the divine masculine, what is it that you need? Jamaica also came up, as well as Mr. Jamaica. So if anyone knows what that might mean, let me know in the comments. Mr. Mu also coming up, as in Mr. Lemurian. So coming more into their feminine aspect. And also the butt came up in different ways, like seeing the butt from sitting behind. And again, that's like the top of the heart as well. So now we have this next one. Okay, and this starts with the numerology deck, and then the mixed Lenormand Reverie and the Kipper deck, and then the Wild Unknown Animal Guidebook, and then the half deck of Rider-Waite. And I'll pull them up a little bit so you can see them better. Okay, again, the underlying energies on the left, and on the right, the piles to count or perhaps read, and 3 cards each. And this one came out 944 to 47, which is that sweet spot 4 to 7 of the heart to the crown. And this is on the 8th. So 44 is the 4 of Cups, but also grounding, integrating, and mastering how to receive love. The 45 of the grieving card, the 46 of the children loving each other, and the 47 of the dreams, of seeing synchronicities and choices and heaven in their eyes. And the piles at the end this time came up as 1134 and 1668, with justice and energetic exchange, and the sudden page of pentacles or student, aligning the empress and the emperor, and the epiphany of something new or an invite. And the page of pentacles definitely could be curious here. The magician, divine masculine, and death and an ending, or transformation of the emperor, magician, or divine masculine with the queen of pentacles in a dance. So at 10 a.m. I started here, 3 zeros backing up the 1 or the leap, with the 32 of music reversed, and the need for music here on the journey, and the sudden wealth of 777s, and the 11, which is a full house, and the Knight of Pentacles 67 Beaver, and the Queen of Wands 24, again Omega, and Pleiades. A very significant journey of the muse of the inner child, after self-love, very significant here, and leadership, both music and sudden wealth, hitting the jackpot of 11 and 777, or 788, and again full house, and 221, or 2 with triple boomerangs, of trigamy, or a full house. 3 spouses, or 3rd marriage. The digamma of trigamma, or 2 polygamma function, or 3 gamma waves here. There are no roots on the real axis of the trident, but there exists infinitely many pairs of roots. Imaginary part increases slowly, logarithmic, with the lowercase n, which comes up as the base of E. And for me, En is the lowercase En is Jesus Christ. So at 10:08, which is then Chi of 18, and the gamma wave comes up here very significantly. So gamma waves are the fastest brain waves, the pattern of neural oscillation in humans with a frequency of 25 to 140 hertz, working memory, attention, perceptual grouping, and can be increased in amplitude via meditation or neurostimulation. From science.nasa.gov equals the smallest wavelengths and most energy of any wave in electromagnetic spectrum, produced by the hottest and most energetic objects used to kill cancer cells and sterilizing medical equipment. So then there was a chart of the gamma rays. So you just understand they're at one end of the spectrum, opposite radio waves on the other end, very slow. And then in the middle is our light spectrum that we can see from purple on the gamma ray side to red on the radio wave side. But the middle is our color spectrum that we're able to see from 380 to 780 as the waves get, farther and farther apart. Gamma rays are very close together, and then the radio waves are big, long waves, right? So the purple side is the UV side, and then the infrared side is the radio wave side. So the music of hitting 777s or triple gamma waves, the third boomerang, all aligned with 11 and a full house, hearing the sound of the result of your hard work as the Knight of Pentacles, and cha-ching with the Queen of Wands with a black cat, or perhaps is familiar. At 1028, which is destined, high vibration, and the twin flames or choice of path, and the 32 of the music card reversed, which is just showing its significance, after the 81 of the end of karma around the world, with the leadership card of 81 here, and self-love of 61 beneath that, all orange colors, so very much the sacral chakra coming up there with the Queen of Wands, after dealing with purple pride, or perhaps some bruising there to the ego. So 1031 of destiny of the group, or is that chaos and battling and fighting and competition, or is it playing and having fun and doing sports and the pursuit of happiness? The 57 of the Three of Swords, 8 in the manifestation, the 10 of karmic completion, and the 87 of the magic synchronicities, the musical synchronicities, and the journey of the muse of the inner child, of music to your ears, to separate, broken heart, to heal, apologize, and forgive, teaching and learning to dance and manifest, with the 8 and the 10 being the 18 again of the Kai, the karmic completion, and the CHAI, which is the CH of 22 yards, a channel, I, each, and horsepower coming up here of Mr. Ed, of the 22 and the Fool's Journey with an open heart and a leap of faith, dealing with AI. Very interesting the way that comes up. And notice that 19 is the sun, and 91 comes up as the central sun. 18 is the moon, and 81 is the end of karma around the world. So we have 32, 57, 8, 10, and 87 all came up. And then the reflection of each. 32 reflection is 23, which is the King of Wands this year. And 87 at the end there reflects 78, which is the end of the deck. The 78 of the 10 of Pentacles. At 1042, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the Two of Cups, the journey of the King of Wands to heal the Kai with the 10 of Pentacles, with music and synchronicities. So the 22 yards, the channel, each eye and horsepower. The AI is not only artificial intelligence, but it's the three-toed sloth and the pale-throated sloth, as well as many other definitions, including the penis. So it comes up as 1051, which is the wheel and the King of Swords, channeling horsepower or high priestess, or 22 yards or chain of three-toed and pale-throated sloths. I, we, us, but not you, to grab or to have sex, to be a penis or a dick and be bitter, a tall friend, to seed or to pity and mourn, to wound, injure, pain, and yes, no way, the wood and the opening, the constantly leaving and returning. So HIAI also came up as high in the number 4 and the number 2. And again, Kai coming up as the Christ bond, or the whispering bench, the leap, the arc, the connection, to see the organic moon and the eldest son as 4 plus 2 and 2 plus 4. The card shark with the high card, the ace, and the winter to mark the year passing, to see that which connects or join, that which God brings together, let no man put asunder. A son, der. So we have the 8 plus the 10, which equals 810, the 0 behind the 81 of the end of karma around the world, with source support reflecting the moon And the MO of the ON of the moon, which is Mary Magdalene and JC, the human aspects of them. Her with source support, and he just on. She co-creating, and he on. She's the mountain and valleys, and he's the toroidal field with directions or map of intent. At 11:11 of double alignment, the underlying energy of the 31 of the sun of chaos in the leap to 1, the Ace of Pentacles as a new life has begun, the 9 with changes and hermiting a new life, or with a new car, new house, perhaps a new wife, and ending with compassion, or Leo and Virgo on journey with Cancer here, or romance at the full moon going within, with the 1 main male, the journey from 9 to 1, from outside to inside, 32 to 23. Between the 31 and 32 is the sun and the moon here, is the 9 and the change and the chariot or vehicle of ascension, a sense connection. The change at the full moon to walk away and go within, to make self number 1, the main male, McDreamy and the King of Wands to the courthouse, perhaps Virgo and Gemini, and the journeyman with papers here. And Virgo and Gemini are both those mercurial energies of the messenger. So exposing all in one at 11:19 of alignment and the sun, exposing all in one on the journey to reflect the King of Wands in 2023 of judgment or wake-up call, of the King of Wands to the 40 of the Page of Cups and their multiple faces of vulnerability, the quote-unquote fun house, which is a scary place, a place between the sun and the moon, and the nose, the bridging of the pillars to arc and spin with 3 gamma waves, or the boomerang direction, only to end up back at 32 again, the journey of despair, or is that good news of the pair, or unable to find a job, taking pup for a walk, or take care of your dog, or homelessness, or can't find an affordable place that takes dogs, with the 18 and romantic pup, or moonchild, Cancer, or someone turning 18 with the 10 of Cups family and dependent on them. At 11:26 of alignment and the Page of Wands and the 44, and taking a closer look at the details here, the cards, or getting examined or taking a test, making things bigger than they are, magnification, or X-ray vision, learning how to receive love, her harvest, and studying for a final or board. Presently imprisoned with gifts and mouse, and the 22 of the official person, perhaps Scotland Yard, PI, or in jail, or getting arrested so can have shelter and food and a place to rest, with Fool at the station, 5D platform, with red uniform and peaceful spiritual mature union, with the King of Swords, and the calla lilies or stained glass reflecting the flowers, finding peace anywhere you are, her secret garden, and sudden wealth, hitting the jackpot and discovering alignment with self, justice in the world, 3rd time is the charm, with the 3 gamma waves written like a M with an extra hump, the 3 gamma waves or boomerangs, or boom, E-rang, 1 equal and congruent, to boom, causing ringing in the ears, or urgent constriction or angst, or to cramp and narrow, nightmare and incubus. Eye, angle, water, basin, and fragrance, wood or bamboo, the instrument used to measure grain or God's rain, being angry or resentful. Forgiveness is that fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. Mark Twain. As your scent lingers with those who broke your petals, or used excessive force in rushing and not taking care, slowing down with something you love, when you value, you keep it safe, yet show it off at the same time, to have and to hold and display what you love as an expression of who you are, inside out. When Humpty falls and breaks, are you willing to take the time to put them back together again, until they can do it on their own? The 28 of the loving man with 1 last rose, looking back and seeing the full house and a feeling of abundance, teaching and learning in separation, perhaps a card shark and pulling aces in the Ace of Hearts. With 4 and 14, the house of the King of Cups and the fox wounded warrior, leaving perhaps Sagittarius, leaving the Emperor's house, or stable King of Cups or Libra's house, or the fox is leaving the hen house, or choosing a path of separation, or going separate ways at 1150 of aligning with the Ten of Cups family, or to find emotional fulfillment. With Libra, Aries, and Saggy here, and then 1, 2, 2, and 1 cards, 1221. The 34 of the busy work, or occupied by the energetic exchange, the arrows of love, while working or keeping self busy to distract yourself. The 20 and the 10 of public judgment, and imprisoned or released, as the flowers grow in glass houses, destined to discern and weed, to make high vibe cuts with the Page of Pentacles in public display of affections, or able to grow plants inside, or displaying the flowering or inner growth so that others can see how it's done, to discern for themselves, to learn and grow, to feel imprisoned or released. It's always your decision. The 13 of the wealthy man in transition at work, or who passed, or case closed, or exposing a death or an end, cleaning up house and yard to have people over, or to sell, or viewing. And the 38 of the Queen of Cups with twin bridges, birdhouses that look dangerous or need work. Less oxygen on the high road to Mount Olympus, or the need to fill in the gap, to fill in the hole after it's been dug up. Do you put the dirt back, or do you fill it with plants? And do you know which are poisonous? 1202, the Hanging Man and the High Priestess, where swans are reflecting the sea serpent with the seal broken, or chasing their tail to get creative juices going again, between the dolphin and peacock, as the panther triggers, or is triggered, or tries to make a scene, but all stay calm, including deer and beaver, as it is clear the panther doesn't belong here. The dolphin is friendly with pretty peacock, perhaps panther's angry and wants them to stay away from their deer and beaver. Perhaps self keeping an eye on Dr. Doolittle and swans see P in PA, or father breathing down their neck, or Pico, PA in Delaware, comes up here, or sea creatures spiraling due to Pico, and or birds of prey, or deer hunter in PA and Delaware, or father hunts deer and beaver, or protecting dear ones, who's sweet and innocent and works hard and never complains, or a tower moment between two positive points of view, or two creative ideas, or teacher with students showing their work, displays, or breaking into groups. And again, maybe there's some, I don't know if there's anything going on with Pico and the Ohio explosion, because there may be some, reverb on that explosion on the Pennsylvania side, because it was very close to Ohio where it happened. And I had asked, like, how many hours away is actually a safe place from the place of the explosion in Ohio. And I was getting the buffer between 3 and 5 hours where it still could affect another. And actually my son is within 5 hours of that location. So I wasn't happy to know that. The shark is charged for going after birds or animals in general. The eagle's about to land in the sad raccoon's nest or discover where they've been hiding. Looking back as the loving man at sudden wealth, and then going forward as the shark after all the hard work they've done. Ready to dive in to trigger the raccoon and or the fox to leave in a fox chase or coon cap, leaving home and sent home with a mask. After working so hard, now out for blood, as eagle's home being cleared of freeloaders, or clearing out foxes and raccoons hiding in the trash, the barn, the garage, or under the deck, digging up what's underneath or bottom of the deck. The wolf is coming up here. Perhaps that's a fox. The raccoon is stunned or frozen, can't believe the truth as the hyena slithers away at the half moon. Or wolf realizes the truth in the aura of the scent of violets, or realizing the truth of their own humor bouncing back on them. As the dragon flies, two as one, in a beautiful mind, very tempting to the crocodile laying in wait, to slither back as soon as they put their feelers out. It looks like the pearl is ready to be cracked open, but senses danger, so they stay back inside. And then I was getting John Denver. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest. forest. I can't remember the word. Oh, here I have it. It's called Annie's Song. Like a night in the forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses. Come fill me again. So that was coming up. Come let me love you. Let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter. Let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you. Let me always be with you. Come let me love you. Come love me again. At 12:31, the hanging man and the chaos of life, or remembering after the 1, 2, 3 leap to touch base with source before starting over again. The underlying energy of the Two of Wands, the Empress and the Emperor, and choosing the path, looking back to be free from suffering and silence and sleeplessness, stress and nightmares, exposed or going to doctor and not finding anything. The wounded warrior, irritated or defensive to hermit, protecting the Queen of Cups Cancer, or her car or journey or travel, with the Page of Wands and Page of Pentacles, or inspired to invite the Two of Cups and Six of Cups, or the Page of Cups and Page of Swords to come together, or two sets of siblings, older and younger, and the Knight of Wands rushing in before the Queen of Pentacles, lover, or before Gemini, Knight of Swords, delivers the truth to satisfy self, and or the King of Pentacles in court, with the Queen of Wands, or justice between them, or served to Gemini by judge, or Libra to balance or mediate them while waiting their turn. The Queen of Wands looking forward. And also John Denver came up, so West Virginia could be coming up regarding some after effects from the Ohio incident. And the West Virginia song with John Denver. So at 12:39, which is the Hanging Man and the Knight of Cups, the High Priestess of the Divine Feminine, Higher Self, or Nurse, the Aid and the Shark between them, and Loving Man. The Shark could be working hard on split as the Dark Knight, Scorpio, or Gemini, or the Grim Reaper clears the Queen of Swords, or representative, to speak to the devil, temptation, or swearing in, as the Queen of Wands and High Priestess are left alone with each other, perhaps Fire and Pisces, as Scorpio and Capricorn face off with Legal Eagle diving right in to get the dark out. It's very interesting too, because as this is coming up, and of course my son lives in West Virginia, he's actually out on the road most of this month, which is probably why he is. So I have to check, I'll have to look online to see if anything comes up around that. But at 12:43 is the King of Wands watching as the croc gets interrogated. The Knight of Cups is offering love to their neighbor as the Divine Feminine, Pisces, or World, or the Knight of Cups is Pisces going around with the Knight of Pentacles to help, or the Divine Feminine between two knights or kids, and the King of Swords with the King of Cups manifesting for sovereign or for their sovereignty here, or the Pisces King of Cups with Gemini King of Swords, perhaps Virgo here as well. Definitely could be court or waiting in line for something official. 3 Kings, 2 Knights, and Dark Knight, or Pisces and Scorpio and Virgo or Capricorn, representative between the Queen of Wands and King of Wands, or the Queen of Swords and King of Swords, and or Shark or Scorpio interrogating Capricorn, or diving right in to make them feel badly, or the Queen of Wands swearing in until death do us part, where the King of Wands cheated as the devil, influencing the children to stay with him and his girlfriend, or traveling with them, as the King of Swords and King of Cups want the magician to do their magic, putting sovereign on display, or putting them on the witness stand at 12:59, which is the Hanging Man and seeing new perspectives, and then the War Within, or facing your fears. So some of the next energies that came up after this was, again, the Tilted T came up again. The Louvre came up, but without the L. And oeuvre means the work of art, or like a life's body of work. And the Tree of Life, the Ocean Mountain, and I'm just getting John Denver again in West Virginia, and the Kana language, which is a Japanese language, came up here, and the antenna kind of symbolism. And the Mona Lisa was coming up there too. Oh, and Archangel I am, and Aaron came up with that. So when Aaron came up, Moss also came up. So when I did some scribing with my left hand, Moss was coming up with Mona and Mona Lisa and the monad. Archangel Aaron, or I am Archangel. I am apron as well. And arrow and archangel-ism was coming up, as well as AP-ism and spasm. And 3H, the ring, the sharp leaf, which was representing that leaf I showed you, like collapsing in on itself. But the work of art or body of work or opus, to see, perceive, hear, or listen, the border edge to become human. The Louvre of the earth is the moss. And I've been getting this for a while now, right? The algae, the moss, the seaweed, all those green plants are very key to our existence in the future. Whatever can grow in anything, and that was coming up is in Venice as well. Whatever could grow in the Venice waters could grow anywhere. But the moss is coming up as the bridge. And you know, it's vegetarian, right? And yet at the same time holds all the nutrients of the ocean. And the salt of the earth. The moss comes up, and I'm just getting Moses coming up as well. The earth's Mona Lisa. So it's saying that moss is, you know, your version of the Mona Lisa. Where Aaron comes up, and Archangel I am, the apron and the arrow. And now I'm getting Orion. So, and again, so what you think, you know, it's like one man's trash is another man's treasure. And that applies in the spiritual realms and in other realities as well. Because the way you live may be trash to them and vice versa. So Metatron was coming up. All the archangels were coming up, you know, what signs they were in. And Metatron and Sandalphon are Virgo and Pisces. And Orion came up there too. So there's definitely a connection there. Right? Because it's not all negative everywhere. Every civilization has its balance. It's negative and it's positive. And again, if you get your etheric chart done, you're going to find out that you existed in many negative places as well as positive places. You change things from within, so you've existed in all of the realms, even if you've always been in a positive space. You infiltrate the negative energies to help raise the vibration. So an article came up 11/6/22 of the twins Angel Carter and Aaron Carter, who passed away November 5th, 22. He was born December 6th, 87, so Sagittarius. And of course his younger brother, he's the younger brother of Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And he had a full-length album titled Love from February 18. His son's name was Prince, 11/20/21. And he was coming up in my message here as Archangel Ron, as Aaron. My grandfather was also named Aaron. And Angel, the Archangel Ron and Angel twins, where Ron can equal heroin and rum, but also rainwash, circle, and the ring, the circular, and the leaf. The 3H, the theory, the argument, the view, the rodeer, and the tune, or rather the rune, the witchcraft rune. So Archangel Ron coming up as the Archangel of the ring, of the circle view, the circling view. And again, that picture of the leaf collapsing in on itself, like the heart is the circle collapsing in on itself, becoming the chromosomes. Then 3H came up, which is tritium, which is 3H, and triton is also another representation of tritium, and represents third, half-life of 12 years. And 3H.com also came up, which is an office supply company. And then they had me draw the 3H's together, which just looks like an antenna, or perhaps a railroad track. But Triton is Poseidon's son in the golden palace at the bottom of the sea, where the ark is. He was the one who blew the conch shell. He was considered the merman. Poseidon's palace, which is A-E-G-A-E, it's just one letter, that L, short of algae. So there's that algae coming up again. On Euboea, which their other name is Evia, E-V-I-A, which is so funny because it's a Greek island. And there's another Greek island named Kos, which is my father's nickname. So Poseidon took 3 strides, and with 4th he reached his goal. So there's that 4th quarter again, where the Aegae, where his glittering golden palace is at the depths of the sea. His call with the conch shell was what was supposed to scare the giants away. He originally bore a trident, right? So the pitchfork type of energy. Blue with green hair, and blue and green came up again with crayfish. And he was seen with barnacled seashell shoulders, like Atlas, because Atlas is like the shoulder pads of the axis. So Hercules wrestles Triton was also on a piece of pottery that came up, but I don't know if that's actually Hercules and Triton. It might have just been a thought at one time. Or the old man of the sea, or Nereus. So Triton's daughter, Triteia, which is a name, a city was named after her, she married Ares' son, Melanippus. It sounds like, Melana. It references the black horse. But again, Tiaman was coming up, which references a Russian town. And then Tiu means the number 9 and the number 10, as well as that one. The score, the person, what, who, and the uncle. Say uncle is what I was getting from that. I'm getting the Beatles. Who is it, uncle? I'm hearing it, but I can't think of what uncle it is. Uncle Albert. Uncle Albert's coming up. So there you go. We have Uncle Aaron, perhaps, and Uncle Albert. So 2 A names coming up. And then the golden ass came up, which has to do with the metamorphosis of Apuleius. So it was the earliest finished ancient Roman novel that was complete, that was whole, to survive in its entirety. In the book, the Trions and the Nereids appear as marine. Returns to Venus. Can't read my writing. Anyway, you can look up the golden ass if you want any more information about that. But again, the algae and moss coming up with the Aegae, the palace of Poseidon. And again, all of those mossy kind of plants being very significant here. It also is spelled A-I-G-A-I. And A-I-Y-A-I. And the way they show the pronunciation, it looks like the word edge, which was very interesting. And algae also means frog, to dirty, to be dirty, slimy, seaweed, and something of little worth. And again, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So then on the 9th, I just watched Magenta Pixie, and she was talking about, she was getting an epiphany while she did her video message about the ocean being the pineal gland of the earth. But talking about this as like the sac with the juice in it of the pineal gland. And I was getting the tag and the mushroom associated with that, like a neck tag, like a mushroom stalk of a tree. So remember I said that because we'll get into the mushroom a little bit here too. So on the 9th, the word sacrifice came up. And I wanted to go into breaking it down because there's a very negative connotation towards the word sacrifice. But what it means really is something different than the way we perceive it. So I wanted to get into that a little bit. I mean, ultimately, when you look through all the definitions of all the words in sacrifice, right, it's the sacra or the sacrum and the phyce, and phyce is the field inversion, the capillary electrophoresis. But it also comes up as to say the sea ray reflect the sea. There's also this energy of backpedaling and withdrawal and the clause. The essay to backpedal and the test of your clause. The crayfish of blue and green again come up here with sacrifice. Because literally crayfish, say crayfish. Can you say crayfish? The crab to scratch, crawl, the small lobster, the crawfish to backpedal, desert, and withdraw. Sacrifice to say, see, or test see. Ray to reflect see. And Raphy also came up, which is a scruffy school child, or Raphy hoister, exalter, or raiser, elevated, noble, and high. Also, Raffy can be skinny, page, paper, leaf, and branch. And Fico came up with airplane, which is Vietnamese again. So airplane, teacher, and I love you came up in Vietnamese. So sacrifice is to give away that which you value without putting a price on it or selling it at a loss without putting a monetary price on it. Sacrifice can mean to kill or destroy, to receive non-monetary satisfaction or charity, to care for another, to show love without demanding it in return, or expecting a return through the greater good, or give away energy to increase another's energy who may need a boost. Jesus dying so millions would learn from that lesson, or graduate with honor to the next level knowing you've contributed to the greater good. So this energy about sacrifice. So also sac came up significantly, and the reflection of sac, which is C-A-S, which can be the same word because C and S can both be soft C's. So it could be SAS, S-A-S, which came up today, which was very significant. But the sac was coming up regarding the pineal juice and the plasma, and the cross being taken down, which is that T. The pineal juice plasma and the light to the blood, which is solid, and the womb and the tomb of honor, nobility, and exaltation, which is coming up as a definition of sacrifice. The womb and the tomb, or the tag of honor, the nobility and exaltation of the sea, the holy sea. That, this, he, she, who, if, what, my, us, here, and person, people, and the one, see, the K, the foot, and the leg, the womb and the tomb of the exalted one. The mummifying one or two and tail, or total weight, in the shadow of a prayer and bright light of the exalted one. Two U's and the top dog, and then the womb and tomb were coming up as the W and T of the OMB, which is that like penumbra, that the shadow, around and exchange for. Man has ended. The ombre then, which is the gradual blending of colors from light to dark, the man, the ghost, the darkness and shade. The begging or praying for, the ash request or prayer, the navel and umbilicus coming up, and the umbrella, because they're both also spelled with an O. The source of human, my beloved. The energy of the cas, or the sac and the case of one. And again, the Ark of the Covenant comes up there. And the TW, which is this one, the tail, and the 0 point. U to wit, the half moon, the total weight, the trigger warning. And then WT is to bind with bandage or embalm. White trash, redneck also comes up. Dash W means plural, and dash T at the ending is a feminine ending. A bandager, embalmer, wrapping with or what. And SB comes up here, star, as the SBWT constellation. So it's referencing the difference between SB, meaning star, and SBWT, meaning an expansion of that, or the constellation, something much bigger, or a collective. CAS also means soccer or football, to dispute, understand, sack, removal, extraction, certified, notarized copy of document, to put, get out, take or remove, extract or dig up or lift. So umbilical and umbrella were coming up here. And again, the Bella mushroom, because the mushroom kept coming up. And then I was getting the umbrella as the cap of the mushroom, and the umbilical cord as the stem of the mushroom that goes into the hole of Mother Earth. The mushroom, which remember is an umbrella and a cap, but also a fungus, which is hard to get rid of. The father umbrella, the father is the cap, the umbrella, the etheric grid, and the tomb, or the ley lines in the womb of the mother. And then I was getting this drawing of the earth with all the ley lines laid out, and then the etheric grid around it. And when you put them together, it looks like the pit. It actually looks like the alchemy card in the SIRIAN Starseed deck. The earth ley lines with the etheric grid sparkling around it, and the alchemization of the two grids coming together, and the reference of a mushroom of that, and the mushroom of kisses and hugs. The crescent moon with the ley lines and the grid, and the umbilical cord between them, the mushroom, where sacrifice equals the holy see, but as opposed to the whole, like the holy pope, it has to do with the whole, either the whole without the W, right? So as an empty space with the C, which is the whispering bench, and the emotions, and the ability to see with your third eye, or the holy see with the W, the two U's at the hole and the Y in the road. And the F of the digamma energy also comes up with the C, which also can be a reference to procreation, as F and C come up. The holy digamma twin flame whispering bench. And also the sacrifice begins with S and ends with C, with the acrophi in the middle. And acrophobe came up with the phobia of fear of heights. And the acra of the vascular access that's furthest from the heart, so the capillaries. The acre, the tool, the implement, the service, the convenience. And the sapodilla comes up as what's in between the S and the C, or the Sophia and the Christ. The long-lived evergreen tree, the nature to New World tropics. And what did I say about the New World tropics? Whenever it comes defined as New World tropics, they're talking like it's just in a certain location that's called New World, but I keep getting it's because it's new, and they don't really want people to know where it's coming from. The long-lived evergreen tree, which is native to the New World tropics, reflects between Sophia and Christ, or the S and the C, which is also the sine wave and the parenthesis. And then the obia in the middle of phobia, which means magical or medicine, a charm, to perform magic, or doctor, healer, knowledge, and wisdom, with pH, which is a balancing mechanism. So phobia is really, right, the fear of magic, of magical healing. Phobia can also mean to attack, or fear of the unknown, because you can't see it, see it. And there's that energy of pH between base and acid, where acid is sour. And acro is coming up opposed to acid as opposed to base. But that's that tiny distal flow at the base, at the distal end. The pH with the magic of knowledge and healing. And accepting pairs of electrons is acid as well, which Pac-Man was coming up. Yields and donates protons to the base. Right? Trying to get rid of the protons to the base. But remember, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So actually, the Divine Feminine coming up so again, the Sophia energy accepts pairs of electrons because they're Pac-Man, they eat them up. So it's that, and again, infiltrating in the middle of the electrons, remember, are the powers that be rotating around. Whereas the protons are coming up as the in-betweens for the neutrons, which have all the power, but they have the least flexibility. So there's all this referencing to reflecting between those two energies. And it yields and donates protons to the base and is corrosive. So there's that Pac-Man energy. So remember, pH is also the same energy as F or Fi, which is that expansion and contraction or reflecting in the middle. pH is about balancing the base and the acid. So Sophia alternating currents of Ra, balancing Christ, or the ray of sun, of S, or the seesaw with C, where S is both, right? Both reflections of the parenthesis, whereas C is just the one, it's one leap, but the S is in two leaps. S on the seesaw with C may be out of balance. The holy sea to seesaw between, the holy place of offering of Eve. The S equals Q with C, balanced and unbalanced. And SC is the soft cover where the CS is the spoonful or something small. It's also CZ, TS, and CH are also the same meanings as CS. And CH is Kosh or hyperbolic cosine. And also, again, that chain that equals 22 yards. So remember 1 equals C because 1 equals the leap between 2 points, which also equals I in the IM, which equals H, which equals the lowercase n. And then the S of Sophia has 3 points instead of 2, which is also the 5, and the UN. And then the 2 parentheses, where the C equals the leap off the seesaw. So the balance, since S is more of a heavyweight than the C on the seesaw, the C counteracts that by leaping off the seesaw, which then lessens the weight on the side of Sophia. So there's this back and forth energy to the 5. So again, the 4 becoming the 5. The parentheses of the pairing of the C's, the parentheses, and the antithesis or the anti of the C's, which is the other C, the reflection of C, and the shadow of 2 coming together as 1 at 1144, 2 U's at a dead end, of the womb and the tomb, of the W and the T and the OMB, as the cross comes down, plus sign instead. So the T, what happens is there's a spinning of the top of the toy, you know, that you spin and then it flings off the top. That's the capital T, flinging off and then coming back down, but coming down to the cross position as opposed, you know, the plus sign position as opposed to being 3/4 or on top. They're coming back to the middle of the plus sign to even things out. All right, so Sacrafice also has those 2 capital A's in it, right? When I write them all caps, and remember the capital A's, when you write them fast, become the T on its side with a support. And SAC and CAS combined is SACAS, which means to withdraw or lift. But Sacrafice also comes up, when you highlight the 2 A's, comes up as Scarface or Scarf and Ice, which was coming up as the Cobra and the Kundalini. wrapping around your neck. And then the sarcophagus came up, which came up as a picture of a sideboard of ice. Like, so not only is it a coffin or tomb, but there was a picture of a sideboard that was filled with ice, which is considered a sarcophagus. But it was filled with ice, and then ice was coming up as toxic. And then I was watching New Amsterdam last night, or that night after I did this, and the ice was toxic on the show. So many times I'm getting information about the show I'm about to see that night that I haven't seen yet. So it's like instant messaging. But the coffin of limestone, flesh devouring and carnivorous. As I just went in to break down sarcophagus a bit, because the venom head comes up under cop, like as in a police officer, cop. Cop means venom head, and also translates as orb. Did you know that? And cop also means Merlin, or the 3 cutouts at the top of the tower, right? That was military protection, a barricade, but I call that the E-tower. So all those things come up under cop. The leap of the venom head feeding on flesh, the painful wound crowning as the armor, as the knee bruises, or the trophy scars that someone wears. The E-tower, to copy a friend, multiple ewes or pigs. The Merlin between word or confession. The summit, to bend and curve, and 2 ewes or pigs. So there is the tower. So again, the Merlin is one of these, okay, like that. And again, Scarface coming up here as well. The cobra ice scarf of toxic bite and restrictive flow, a cooler of wounded flesh, feeding on flesh to become cops and robbers, right? Because on either side of the tower is the confessional and then the pigs on the other side. 2 at war with armor between, a tower to surmount, to become orbed ewes, or in other words, to become more etheric ewes. And also a SAS, annulment, SASAC and CASAC. We're coming up annulment and bullshit versus truths and bags or sacks, the inlets. In the sack and the case. And then SAS came up today, but I'll get to that after this last one here. So also Orion came up in another way. In another read I was doing, Halley's Comet came up after the Green Comet. The Green Comet came up from Forbes.com, and I was in space.com as well here. Right, the next time Halley's Comet's supposed to come around is 2061. The green Comet came up as Comet C, 2022 E3, and then ZTF, I think it was, and won't return for another 55,000 years. IP/Halley is a monster and will put the Green Comet to shame. 2023, it now reaches its aphelion, the furthest point from the sun. November in the south hemisphere constellation of Hydra that it's in now, it will reach that point at 35.1 AU beyond the orbit of Neptune closer to Pluto by December 2023. You can see the residual of Halley's Comet from other times it's been by in shooting stars from April 19th to May 25th, peaking on May 6th, 2023, with about 10 to 30 shooting stars per hour from the northern hemisphere and up to 60 from the southern hemisphere. This year peaks at the full moon. It's harder to see when the full moon is there, though. Also, though, in October this happens, peaking October 20th to 21st at about 20 per hour after midnight, after the moon has set. So that was coming up around Orion, because the place of Halley's Comet is right there to the left of Orion. So to watch for, if you want to watch for Halley's Comet sprays, they're right next to Orion. All right, so this last read starts with Metatron from today. So Metatron and my mixed deck of Lenormand Reverie, and then, sorry, I got hairs on here. So Metatron, Lenormand Reverie, and the Kipper deck, and then the Wild Unknown Animal Guidebook, and then that fourth deck is the half deck of Rider-Waite. A little closer so you can see the cards. Okay. So this was yesterday, actually, the 10th. Today's 11th. And the Trident came up. And that E tower references the Trident as well, right? It's got that E shape or 3 shape, whichever perspective you come from, doesn't really matter. And again, the Axis and Atlas came up again as well. But with this message here, it started at 11 to 1106, which is the double zeros of source support. 11 is alignment, truth and balance, and justice. And the numbers at the end of the decks were 7, 9, 3, 10, and 13, 23, which I did not look up anything. You can look them up if you'd like to. But the 79 is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for me. 3 is abundance, and then 10 is destiny. As well as 1323 can reference the transition of the King of Wands this year, 2023. So the underlying energy here at 1110 was 51 of the King of Swords in white, 17 of the gift, the Nightingale, and Justice of 11. The gift is 17. The King of Swords dream gift, or offering purification in a present. To the sweet nightingale's baby's breath, the songbird purifying the air. The gift of life, a diamond or justice. The King of Swords Libra with gift to self, or inner child, or Aquarius gift to Libra. Or the King of Swords' contribution to the justice system, to the innocent. At 1204, the Hanging Man and the Emperor. The underlying energy of the 37 of the King of Cups, detaching from drama to look up, to feel the sun rising above the horizon as you sit in the grass, heating up your ass, feeling the bubble. And 3 keys of Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Of Pisces, of Pisces, the seas of the ocean, the seas of your eyes, and the sea of the whispering bench and Christ consciousness. And remember what we talked about first thing in this message today is the pie of the circle with the line down the middle, and that the Pisces symbol, where are we here? Where's my finger? The Pisces symbol here is the same thing as pi. It's just the moon cut in half and faced the other way. And the line is just changed to horizontal as opposed to vertical. So it's the same thing, just repositioned, rearranged. It's like the lock is opened. And then salt was coming up because the circle with the horizontal line is the symbol for salt in alchemy. And Evelyn salt was coming up from the movie, but also that reference to me. So the energy of the lock being opened and closed, and the Vesica Pisces being the 2 circles, and referencing Virgo and Pisces, and on the axis from each other. VP was also coming up as vice president, and the victory point of the half and the whole, or the mid and the balance. The circle 1 and the circle 2 and the line between, the colon and the Q, which there the line in the Q is like the tongue hanging out of the mouth, at the right side of the mouth, where he leaps in and she conceives. He is one and she is both. And then we have, all of these different circles here, pi, and then the salt symbol, and then the Pisces symbol, and then the Pisces symbol on its side. And then this is really the same thing as the phi energy. Okay? Just with the circles facing the other way. So the King of Cups is the 37, which represents the 3 keys. The tree keys of the Q and the CHEs, which is CHEZ, the E's, and the Chez of CHEZ, with the QUEZ as well. So all this stuff around the keys was coming up, and the E's of the keys. And the retreat of the void, the 48 of going within, And remember, if you take the 30 of the Om symbol and you change that, where the heart, the 3 is like an M, it makes like the top of the heart with like a little verbal blooper above it, with the crown then on the side. It's like they're looking that way. The heart and the mouth with the blooper above, and what the heart says regarding the toroidal field and the Star of Bethlehem. So again, when we get into the rolling stone, which is that E, 3, M, and W, it's always present in the toroidal field. And the trident came up here today regarding that, bringing it into the toroidal field. Okay, so here's the trident, and they usually put a heart at the other end. And you see it's like an E with a longer in the middle as the point. And then it becomes the corset when you bring it together. All right, so these are different ways facing each other or not facing each other becomes the eye. So you can see how this is the eye and this is the nose. And then you'd have this on the other side as the second one. But again, it's coming in. It also came together as this symbolism, and you see all the mushrooms in that, as well as the Celtic cross and the flowers, and then the star in the middle. And again, this all references the same stuff as the corset of the way the trident comes together, is all coming together as the window in the middle, which is that 0 point field in the torus. But when I did this drawing here with the eggs, the eggs cracked open, so to speak, or the mushrooms, it was coming up as scrambled eggs. The tridents as the chromosomes, right? With the crazy 8 dance in the shape of an X. The middle of the scrambled eggs. The mushrooms and the Celtic cross. The solar plexus or the quantum entanglement. The point of the sun and the soul. The soul and the roll. I wasn't getting that before. Now they're talking about the belly rolls. And the rolling stone of the E3, M, and W, which then shapes the window, the gift portal or window, the heart and the womb, the path of one of the rolling stone. So all that was coming up there. So currency came up, and currency is current, it's movement, right? But usually we talk about currency being money, but it has to do with movement of energy back and forth. Where then the key was coming up in all different ways, right? Because keys is CHEZ. So, and Chez is home. So key equals keys, multiple keys equals the home. So I looked up all of the different ways of writing keys here that were coming up here. And the keys will also come up as the Q's. The quiver for arrows, the case, the container, the sheaf, to boil, cook, brew, and simmer. But CHE also, the symbol that comes up there, the letter, looks like the number 4. Or like an upside down H, lowercase h. But also the capital C, which also comes up as 3 and 5, where the 4 is in between. And it was also, from 57 to 82, the spelling of X. So there's the crazy 8 dance. And the I am present, the 6, me, my, and a bunch of other stuff, bro, man, male, darn, to cover, hide, and take shelter. The keys are Q's. For the soul and the ruler, ROULERs, to roll or revolve, to go, work, or function, dive, or dupe, or trick. And then the song In Our House was coming up in the background as I'm talking about Chez, which is the house. The home. The 3 keys to the home is the keys, CHEZ, the tree keys. And then when you take the number 4 and you make the number 4 in arcs instead of lines, it's literally like the acrobat flying in the air, right? So flying through the air with the greatest of ease, and the 3 keys here. And you notice that the flying trapeze guy makes the shape of the trident right here, but it's actually the number 4, but just arced from point to point, right? So he's got the trident here, but it's bending. So it's actually, they look like they're different shaped lines, but they could be exactly the same arcs, but they're just in 2 different dimensions, 2 different perspectives. So lots of energies to raise, to lift came up with Kesal, which is a beautiful bird as well. The 3 keys, the tree keys. So the 3 keys translates, and again, the 3, here's the rolling stone, because when you put the 3 and the E together, it shapes also the M. How did it come together? Well, when I draw it better, you know, it makes the M and the W on the bottom too, because you're making the circles here, the 4 circles. So it's the 3, the E, the M on top, and the W on the bottom. 3 keys equals tree, Chez, or tree, Chez, or tree keys, which is also the tree house, or the tree of life. So the 3 keys literally translates to the tree of life, which is that star that comes up in the middle of the toroidal field, the 0 point between the 4 circles, which can go in a square or a diamond. They all come up on the same schematic, but you see how the tree comes out here and the roots down here, which, and then again, the line across is the horizon or the land that the tree is growing out of. So the 3 4s come up as the 3 gamma waves come back again, and the 3 C's. 3 C's are the 3 gamma waves, or the 3 boomerangs. It just depends on the perspective. Or the L's, the right angles. The curve and the sharp twin, or the sharp turn. The acrobat, flying through the air with the greatest of ease. The 2 C's, the arcs, the arched body, and the wingspan up. The rocking horse, and different planes. The LC, which comes up as the lowercase, the heart and concern. That the L equals the C, it just has movement to it in the 4D. The L and the C is also EL and SE, which is else or other in addition to that. The quantum entanglement, 2 or more on differing accesses. The else also means oak, by the way, home oak and live oak. The human connected to human, one lesson or next to the collective, as the oak was coming up as AOK and OAK. And again, this reference to lesson and equal then, and aligned versus entangled, regarding the K energy, one connected to one lesson or the energy of the collective, or in other words, in each other's space. The soul of the holy roller, in Russian roulette, the intersection of the whole at the Y in the road, revolving, right? Just like you would see Saturn, right? It's just doesn't have to be a solid sphere. It's just 2 rings going around each other. There's an entanglement there, but totally separate in their own planes. So each a whole in their own right, but left to their own devices. Revolving, the rolling stone, the path of one, around another one. Each a whole in their own right, but left to their own devices, circling each other with their own plane, both equal and opposite. That's where Newton's 3rd law came up, of motion, of equal and opposite reactions. You cannot touch without being touched. And this was coming up from livescience.com, 9/25/17. So 1 is the body at rest, will remain at rest, and the 2nd law is about force, and the mass of an object times its acceleration, or F equals lowercase ma. So if you are equal in weight and strength, you will affect each other equally. It's a balancing act. For something given energetically, there must be something gained energetically. If not voluntarily 1-to-1, then the collective will make up for it like Big Brother. Where capital F is also digamma equals ma, which is ma or mother, the digamma twin flames equals co-creation of one human with the collective, or is that the earth? And remember the 2 arcs, when they look like they're different sizes, it could be that one's just farther away than the other. And then the twin flame came together again as the T and the F of the digamma energy, or the top dog and the little one trying to get in there. One with father is equal to one with mother. The T being the mushroom and the acrobat. right? So the T, as you make the arcs over here, can equal this. Let me make it a little bit clearer for you. It can be like this, but also can be this. This is a T, this is a mushroom. And also could be the acrobat flying in the air. So that's all coming up as the T and the mushroom. So then Chez came up because I had miscarried many, many years ago. And that was supposed to be Chez, which I didn't know at the time means home of the ray. But Chez came up here as home of the ray, or keys or cues, are a human connecting to the Y in the road, the 0 point. The acrobat midstream, like the picture I showed you of the number 4 of the C and the C, the 4 which is also CHE, and how the C and the anti-C relate to each other. They can either wave as all in the same direction, CCC, or reflect 1 to 1, as the reflection 1 to 1 becomes the Star of Bethlehem, right, with the line down the middle, which is the toroidal field. And remember that the 4 written as arcs also looks like an X as the Crazy Eights dance, and how the 1 of jumping from point to point relates to the other 1 of point to point, or the 2. 1 to all, or 1 to 21, which is also quarter 1. Conceive of leap of faith. So remember also this in the Star of Bethlehem also represents going from the pi energy to the phi energy over here in the compression of going within. Home of longing for range of emotions to come together to 1, or 21, which is the all. The array is to ache, water, emote. The array of phase range. And I-ray, which is year, single, one, or to unite, join, or combine. And then Columbine came up, which of course you know was in Littleton, Colorado, the Denver area, April 20th, 1999, where 2 teens killed 13 and wounded over 20, and then ended up committing suicide, the 2 of them, at 222, room 222, guidance counselors. At 224, the pi comes up with the Pisces symbol, which is referencing the egg to the Pisces symbol of 2 eggs as 1. Okay, so we have the symbolism here going from, this is the symbol for salt, this is the symbol for pi, so this is the 2 eyes and the nose, and then the Pisces energy of being the same thing, just rearranged the half circles and the line, and again becomes the I, or the rearrangement of phi, which is the H and the I being the same, the 8 and the 9, because when you knock them over, they become the same letter, or the 8 of the infinity. 2 eyes closed, and the nose that knows, where I becomes H when it lies down, or keys down, right, when you turn the key, or 1 to 1, which is the letter H, the divine masculine, divine feminine dancing 8, when laid down, they become infinite. The 3 keys of alchemy, which alchemy is all my and key in the middle. The star between the root and the trunk on the level playing field, where the axis equals man, the atlas, and is the shoulder pads. The map to cushion the weight and help rotate, pivot, and shift. And the middle, of course, is the waist. Okay? So there's a tree again, the playing field, but this also can reference the boobs and the balls and the belly button in the middle. So at 236, the King of Cups, which is the 3 keys, at home in the Om with wings to fly and butt to sit, going within. The 8 of leadership in answering the call with flame in right hand and 3 keys or tree keys on ring in left. The tree keys, or the trick is, because the 3 keys or tree keys are tricky, where TRICHE means fraud, cheating, or finagling, dodging, haggling, or quibbling, or a triple candlestick, which again brings us back to the trident. The high road of the energetic exchange of home, Om, and AUM, or in other words, hitting gold in co-creation. The 3 is the tree with strength of the 8. The 3 equals half of the tree reflecting the other. The 48, which leads to the 8 here, is that man, from the flying trapeze, going from the 48 to the 8 alone is the 4 over here. After the leap through the air, to just dance hand in hand, spiraling up to 3 and 0, with 2, which is Q, and the symbol of Om, which is 30, the Queen's home. The 50 of signs, like the robin and spring, from spirit with love, leaving or leafing a feather or two on the long-lived evergreen, reflecting between the S and the C of sacrifice. The 35 of the wounded warrior Kundalini released to cool off in the 51 King of Swords is purity and innocence, or inner sense. The 42 of going with the flow in the canoe on the salt river towards the fresh, as the 19 fire dragon with fire in his belly, or pyramid, watching as the 29 blue Madonna is presently aligned with Sirius star and gifts holding space, where Beetlejuice and Bellatrix are up to something, between the juice of the pineal gland and the tricks up their sleeve. The mother is all tied up with her hands in her cloak, with the new dawn as the sun comes up in the valley of the sine wave path that comes to a head, collapsing like a flap covering over the head. Where Red Riding Hood goes to grandmother's house, or those who moth to the flame, unable to resist the light which gets them past their fears. With 6 cards here, the 23 of duality of the King of Wands, needing to balance, the 16 of the sudden gold of the Holy Grail and infinite blessings, lit up and supercharged, and the 53 of the Knight of Swords, codependency, key to freedom, which is the home. The Ester, E-S-T-E-R, which is the ether, like the tree to the 3. The 2 halves of the tree locked at the root, collapsing in on itself to create a new bridge, a quote-unquote filling in, so to speak. Mercurial, of course, corseting, weaving, and supporting at the waist, the center, the most vulnerable part, while it becomes reinforced. The 34 of the ancestors in energetic exchange, the arc with love of appreciation and healing, chiming in from time to time, LOL, and the 33 of the dimensional gateway, an invitation to 4D bridge with 2 flames now at the gate of Christ consciousness. The 4 of letting go in a time for release with the greatest of ease at 10-4, message received from the big cheese. Chi, C, key of ease. K, ease, right? So you have the key of ease as C-H-E and E-A-S-E. So the underlying here is the Queen of Cups with the 38 at 316, the Empress and the Tower, with twin bridges and the 21 of the Mountain of the Buck to get to the other side. In an energetic exchange with the Ace of Cups of love and the 28 of twin flames, the man from Mars, and the mature man with Atlas, the Hierophant or free, and the 33, the key to free self from the cage, working to align with dream gift, pourvu. Pisces, Taurus, Aquarius with fiery motivation here, with Buck at the mountain and map of intent to free themselves from their chains and their martyrdom. With freedom, his name, gift to self, or note to self, tying a ribbon around their finger. At 324, the Empress and the Queen of Wands, where the first card here is the 7 of the Queen of Wands and the Toxic Chariot, the key to conceive of 2 ewes in the garden, knowing there could be a salty reaction to their fresh perspective. Perhaps Cancer or Saggy, Queen of Wands, or Aquarius or Libra, King of Swords, and the 44 of the magnifying glass, to see you better, my dear Est. The key to 2 and 2 4s, and the key to 2 flying through the air, with the 7 key to unlock the 8, the 2 peas in the pod to get to 9, the imprisonment or holding space, worried about check-in, and will they be able to leave. At 3:30 of the Empress and the 4 of Wands, the 22 officially on the Fool's journey, the 23 of the King of Wands standing up to the mouse, the pests, the pets, or the kids, or their messes, or cleaning up their own, the 41 of self-love and well wishes diving deep, with the Queen of Cups 38 working hard with sudden thoughts of them, and offering vacation or exposing new life to the group as hermiting changes, or new car or house or travel, discerning in high vibe destiny, with the Page of Pentacles, child, pet, invitation or opportunity, and 13 of the wealthy man in transition, or Scorpio, where Aries, Scorpio, Virgo, and Libra are here at 3:33. So then at 3:35, with those numbers coming up, 17, 7, 44, and 29, we have 177 and the 177, 44, and the 29 getting to the 9, the gift of the key to the life lesson, or the tandem leap to compassion, or the easy pass connection. The King of Wands and the Queen of Cups standing up to an employee or kids, or Aries and Scorpio, sudden vacation or exposing all they have. Or the Queen of Cups, Virgo, and the King of Wands, Libra, maybe hermiting and cleaning up the yard, with an offer and or invite or opportunity to transition or end things or to make it final. With the underlying energy, the starfish, superficial, as seen by Crow on guard, as the bear slowly wakes to the turtle who is slow, being yelled at by the dark panther, needing help to transmute their dark energy, as the tiger comes in to clear things up, or 2 cats and a bear and a bat out of hell, or unexpected home run, slow to get started and triggered by cat, who then immediately changes back, causing the bat to get lost or become spaced out, as the nightingale calls out for them to come back, ever so sweetly. And wow, the bear is slow, the tiger is impatient, and then flying as the other calls out, I didn't mean it, or calling little one to come back home to clear the air, or their serenade that always takes them there. The stingray activated and plugged into the unicorn 5D gate holder, as Hercules watches closely her harvest, with Cancer, Saggy, and the Queen of Wands taking a bite of the apple, but bit off more than they could chew or taste. Little one singing a serenade with unicorn, powering up the grid with whale being the backup singer. The salt river or phoenix being the key to the Queen of Wands toxins, seeking cause as the Queen of Wands stays plugged into the dragon and the unicorn. Between the lamb and the crow and the whale unicorn, or the pillars, lies the star path, B to PA, or the father, to pacify their inner tiger, or causing them to run, or after triggered feeling spaced out, missing baby bird and calling out to Papa Bear. Or baby is singing to them so they won't leave, to stay plugged into the unicorn and whale, both in the dark, now suddenly realizing the love and longing in the fox's eyes. The solar plexus, where the fox suddenly sees, or sees Big Brother for who he is, taking a closer look, or watching closer, or a star is born. With one more look at you, I could overcome the anger that I've learned to know, leave a troubled past I left so long ago. Your tender kiss has left me strong again, and I belong again with one more look at you. At 4:14, the Emperor and the Angel. And then Closer came up again with can't take my eyes off of you, can't take my eyes off of you. All eyes on the songbird at 4:16. And that was the Blower's Daughter, that song. The underlying energy of the High Priestess and the Magician, and the magic pair, the Sovereign, and Dark Knight receiving messages and accolades, an opportunity with Pisces and Virgo Sovereign and Scorpio in their power, taking them on, facing twin flames or lover, or small message or gift, holding out for better, as the Knight of Swords is rushing in, back to back with the Queen of Swords, with the Page of Swords and Knight of Swords have the Queen of Swords' back, as she speaks to or about being happy and free, finally free from the nightmare of the devil or temptation, or Capricorn King of Pentacles making an offer or help to the King of Swords and King of Cups, or the King of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles child, or employee meeting with the King of Swords and the King of Cups and the King of Wands, the final leg of the race, the final baton, home free as the three wise men discuss the offer, and the King of Wands or Knight of Cups offer love in exchange for the Queen of Pentacles as passion, for justice and or balance and Libra, or fathers and children coming together or lining up to check in, or Capricorn and Libra wrangling them all in with the underlying energy of justice here. And then the Queen of Wands, who's plugged in or activated by the Empress and the Emperor in court, or the Queen of Wands with the King of Swords Libra or Judge on their side, forensics, PI, audit, or increasing the fire, as the Empress is with the mic, or one more look at you, with a burning fire for the truth, for details, or to get them to sing and use their gifts, or gift of gab as the Emperor backs them up, impressed by mother, or imprisoned by them, or someone in lockup, or details are a toxic prison for them. Discovery with the King of Swords and or Judge, and the Queen of Wands Empress and Emperor here, the Queen of Cups and the Chariot with the Page of Wands, and the Page of Pentacles Hermit or Cancer and Virgo, and the Wounded Warrior defensive or guarding the Divine Feminine. Pisces or Neighborhood Watch, Virgo and Pisces here, with the Two of Cups and the Six of Cups, and those Page of Cups loves the most, with puppy love, Pisces, pet or child, and or a message of love at 444 and the angelic realms. And by the way, Star is Born was coming up. This was the old movie coming up with Esther Hoffman Howard. A Star is Born. So then we have, I'm just going to show you the pictures that I was drawing this morning because it just ties up the other stuff that was coming up, right? So we have all the ways that the Rolling Stone are written is the window, the arc, and the flower. You see how they all come up the same. And there's the trident coming together. And again, all the energies of the trident, the heart upside down, and how it all comes back to the Taurus, the toroidal field, and the double diamond of the Star of Bethlehem coming up. And again, the 4 circles turning an eighth of a turn, not a quarter, because if it turns a quarter, it becomes the same square again, or the block. But the one that turns an eighth a turn in the Crazy Eights dance, because each turns an eighth from each side, becomes the diamond, okay, which creates movement. It creates the 5 from the 4, which is that, again, this is the head of the nail being turned an eighth instead of into salt. It's in between. It creates movement. Like the 4 and the 5, which is the 5 is just 4 plus the leap of movement. The Rolling Stone home free, still immobile at 1221. If moving physically, being still inside in 3D energy. If moving energetically, still outside in 5D energy. It was very interesting the way it was coming together. And then again, the hearts were, I was getting the lungs again when it was overlapping right here. So again, the lungs are a focus here as well. So now the read on the table, which is a real quick one, because we're already at 3 hours here. It was just like 030343. So my girl came up and closer. And coffins were in the beginning scene of My Girl. That's an old movie. So this is the basic read on the table from the SIRIAN Starseed deck at 30410, as we had 10-4 coming up as well. And here's the 2 decks as we pulled the numerology card as well. So it becomes 3. This was cut at 6:42 last night. And then at 6:59, I finished the clarifiers with the Chariot, guidance, karma, all in the read. Karma is the judgment card. Guidance is the Hierophant. Before the read was the Tower and Justice, and after the read was Luna, or the Moon, and Reason, which is the Emperor. We had 3 cups, 2 pentacles, 2 wands, 1 sword. So it's 32 and 21, which is the journey and completion, the world. And the court cards were just before. We had 9 of cups, which isn't really a court card, but can be a person. And then after the read was the Page of Swords. And before the read was the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Cups. We had double 4s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. The only number that came up that wasn't a double was number 5, which we just talked about, going from 4 to 5. So we have 44, which is the Hercules energy, or the 4 of Cups. And then we have 7, 8, 9, 10, begin again. And the 45, the 5 of Cups, and the 57 of the 3 of Swords. That's separation energy. So regarding intuition here and compassion here, an essay or some kind of speech or saying of time out or temperature of the top dog, and the I am presence, the essence that is copious or abundant, or the fourth quarter, the Hierophant, guidance, and Fool. Also, dried up is Eve, the saxifrage or stone-breaking plant to the nth degree. The guidance or commitment, the marriage, the commitment, again, the narrow passage here, a self-possession of mindfulness, of wise man, to be and let alone, the sap and the abundant marriage, the madman to the nth degree, the commitment, and it's like the blind leading the blind. That's the message there. The madman to the nth degree, married to or guiding, connected to the madman. This starts with the 9 of Cups upright in the underlying energy right here on top with the mini cards on top. I'll move this out of the way too. So with the Knight of Wands reversed and the Queen of Wands reversed, the underlying energies in the happy ending or in the sham fam, right? The one that looks perfect on the outside but has a lot of issues on the inside, with sudden injustice of self-satisfaction or being happy alone, with the Queen of Cups reversed with home and car, or unhappy about Cancer leaving in a losing battle of recovery and coming clean or cleaning up the act or space, leaving home and coming back again after ending conflict, letting go to fix or amend, being insecure, manipulative, weak in the face of injustice or something that's unfair. No flowers, no angel, or cowardice here, without tools, in need of justice. And the recent past at 8:10, which is the dance of destiny, is the 5 of Pentacles reversed and recovery from exile, injury, or illness. The Hermit coming out of the cave. Third party dumping emotional attachments or multiple loads perhaps. But dumping attachments to deception specifically, out of exile from the group, dumping all unnecessary, in need for romance. Soulmates were bored of learning to receive love, with issues at work with dream girl or dream coming true. The foundation of karma, perhaps of abuse or sex without love or sexual frustration, and defending one's actions. Standing up for oneself, divorcing or being spiritual and outside the box. Deciding, announcing, or making a proclamation in a wake-up call here. The central energy of the Chariot, upright, moving, traveling, and ascending fast, as the Page of Cups is upright and sad without them as they pursue their dreams. The Page of Wands is reversed and frustrated, uncomfortable with the King of Wands reversed and the Wounded Warrior reversed, surrendering, both sad, sitting in uncomfortable emotions, as loved one gives up. The challenge being the lack of guidance reversed, or divorce, or breaking contract, or spiritually outside the box, coming full circle in a breakup, or distance, with the Emperor upright healing their broken heart, or forgiving the Queen of Wands reversed, destined to be released. Now crowning is the 7 of Cups reversed, coming downstairs, or is downstairs coming up, the Fool free from the war with the Empress, and the Queen of Pentacles reversed in energetic exchange, or a lot of back and forth with them, with the King of Pentacles reversed. Capricorn and Virgo both reversed, saving, withholding, or playing hardball, and overworking. So the Empress upright here with the King and Queen of Pentacles reversed, with a lot of back and forth there. Not working out or not sharing, unbalanced, a scam, and a lack of inequity or integrity of the Queen of Swords reversed. And the Knight of Wands is reversed with the King of Cups upright, or dealing with unhappy couples or lost loved ones. Soon here is the Ten of Pentacles reversed, the family, business, or community of dysfunction or loss, where the Queen of Wands reversed is released, now the worst is over, and the wheel now turning in their favor, where the Ace of Cups reversed is triggered, overwhelmed, or dumped by dependent or powerless to daydreaming, after the King of Pentacles left with 7 due to dependent spending, or needing 9 but only has 7, or on break and down to 7, so deciding what to do next. The twin flames seeing themselves as the 7 of Wands, rising above the drama to tango, to dance, to juggle and perform the truth, or putting it out, or pulling it out of nowhere, to triumph in that crowning moment, or to bring peace with positive thoughts or stories that take you to another place, away from out of control kids or fiery patience, or Leo reverse, Sag reverse, losing patience or their tempers, tempted by the devil, or Capricorn, who may be holding them down. This also could be, or pinning them down. Bumper cars were coming up there too. Tempted by the devil or Capricorn pinning them down, and that could just be a game of like bumper cars or something like that. Or dealing with the ball and chain here, offered a choice of path or an ultimatum, but they explode or clear the house, or giving a choice before kicked out, or blowing their top or crown. With Leo, Sag reversed, Capricorn and Scorpio upright here, and the truth shall set you free, or will cause you to blow your top, or dancing with the stars perhaps. The devil swearing not to do it. It's like the devil saying they're not going to do it again, but do you believe them? And it's the devil saying it. Around, or how the twins see themselves as the 4 of Wands upright, home, jealous, or feeling rejected, or moody and sending them away, or being arrogant, self-satisfied, working hard to find family happiness with the King of Swords, finding happiness alone and with family. One may be moody, and the next day they're happy, working hard to keep family happy as an honorable man, but it may be hard to do. The block here is the 8 of Cups reversed, or being uncomfortable with emotions, with the Page of Pentacles reversed in need of help, attention, or crying and can't sleep. The 4 of Swords reversed, can't sleep, or is awake, or awakening. Death of a loved one or funeral service could also be coming up, as the Knight of Wands reversed is falling short, and the King of Cups is rising above to speak, or to be silent, to be carefree, or aid, caring for, keeping to self to find peace of mind from negative thoughts, or the 10 of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community dysfunction or loss, and unable to function, not wanting to budge, out to sea, hiding in the woods. Page of Swords reversed in negative self-talk or deception, with illusions or no message, and the need to talk. The reason things didn't work out, and the Empress overworking, now present in the moment, nothing but the moment, at 10 o'clock on the nose. So the 10 of Cups and the Tower are upright with the Justice reversed, as the family with sudden injustice and a wake-up call to rise above the drama, to dance and keep the home fires burning, coming out of the cave like chariots of fire, challenged by no guidance, for when difficult and uncomfortable situations arise, repeating steps coming down or around, letting go of emotions or feelings, needing to sleep, hiding, no messages, or up early with the Emperor trying to work things out and be present. The Knight of Wands reversed and the Queen of Cups reversed, with the 10 of Cups family feeling left out. Suddenly the injustice between the 10 of Cups and 9 of Cups coming out of exile with an announcement in a bold move, but without guidance, to dump emotional attachments or multiple loads, or repeating steps to rise above or stand up to the King of Pentacles reversed, and the family, business, or community, at home or in celebration. That's the 10 of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community. At home or celebration, uncomfortable or never left, never slept, or awakening and hiding from bad news or negative talk, with the Emperor or reason overworking, or why it's not working out, at 10:22, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Fool's Journey, taking that leap of faith. Okay, and that's it, guys. Just a quick energy card, and then I gotta go because it's been long. 314, pie. And the Knight of Cups. Last card, Teddy. You've been very good boy. Thank you. All right, so one last card. What is our takeaway from this reading today? Well, 2 came out. The 15 of appreciation. But who's showing the appreciation? And we have the 15 of the Devil there. So this could be just showing appreciation for your own shadow side. Or is this someone that you can't trust? Right? The Devil swearing they're never going to do it again. And they always do, because they're still the Devil. And then here we have the 7 of the community, which could be 3 girls. It can represent the community or friends. We have this can be Capricorn and Cancer as well, which are on the same axis. Right? Capricorn is very down to work. Cancer is more about social life. So those 2 polarities could be coming up to look at right now. Appreciation and community. Appreciation your shadow side. And the 7 is also the key, the gamma wave, which is the home. The key is the home. The CHEZ, keys. The 3 keys. The tree keys. The tricky ones. Those girls. The underlying energy of attachment, taking the mask off. The 5 of the 5 being the 4 plus 1. The movement. Taking off the mask. Letting go of attachments. Right? You have to release your chains. We have hostilities of the Page of Wands here. And that's in the past. Letting go of that by taking off the mask and revealing your darker sides to others so that you can heal that side of yourself. And again, doing that with appreciation for all of yourself, not just the parts you like, but loving all of yourself and all of the others. And again, seeing the community for who they are. And the home. Maybe they feel like home to you. The Shadow and the Chariot. And the Chariot's in the middle of the read right here. It's bold movement to get going. To take off that mask. To get back, take off that mask, let go of the hostilities by revealing your shadow side, letting people see this side of yourself so that you can release it. The more you shove it down and bypass it, the more it's going to stay and come back. So allow it to be seen, to let it go. And again, we're on that Capricorn Cancer axis right here. Remember, axis is the man with the weight of the world on his shoulders, and the atlas is the map of intent, or the shoulder pads that allow the pivoting right back and forth. But it's the axis that controls things. Okay, guys, I hope you got something good out of that. Remember your water, remember your rest, remember your joy and your nature. Get out there and put your feet in the grass or hug a tree. Take a salt bath, whatever it takes. There's definitely some rough energies coming in right now that might make you feel very ungrounded or lost. And know it's okay. It's just stuff coming up to be released. Okay? So rise and be love, love and rise. I'll see you guys. Have an amazing day. Okay? Bye, guys.